Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you. All right, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday. How's everybody doing? Hope that you guys are having an absolutely wonderful week so far. We're almost at the end of it, sort of. Lots going on. Of course, you know that we are here to bring you the news when it happens, if it happens. We're always there. First ones on the scene. And we've got some exciting political updates and news for you this morning. We are here to welcome Cayman's newest political party. Now, I know a lot of you guys are very, very interested in what this group has to offer. You've got lots of questions. I want you guys to sit back and perhaps listen first to what the Caymanian Community Party has to say. We're going to have all, I think, members scheduled to come on at some point throughout the day so you can get to see who they are. We do understand that there may be additional persons forthcoming. So, they'll be joining us every single month, probably multiple times per month, and we'll get to know them on an individual basis as well as collectively as a group. So let's go ahead and do a few quick good morning messages, and then we're going to pull in, we're going to go ahead and pull in the guests this morning. So good morning to everyone, Media Warehouse. I see you. I noticed you've been watching the program lately. Thank you so much. Appreciate the support. We have got the usual suspects, Evelyn, Diamond Princess, Jane is here. Jim, good morning to you. V, the Money Man. How you doing, honey child? Miss Joy Ebanks is in the house. My apologies. Miss Lucille is also here. I think I actually need some tea today, not just water. Oh my goodness. All right, Miss Lucille, good to see you. Wee Wee's in the house. Miss Charlene, Olivia, Shaka Zulu, and many, many others. And before I forget, oh my, let me go ahead and send out the link to everyone on the WhatsApp channel. Thank you guys very much for your patience this morning as well. And then I think we are ready to rock and roll, as they say. So don't forget, join the channel. It's a great way in the morning to ensure that you're getting all of the correct links, because sometimes a link might change at the last minute for the show. And Facebook has been up to a bunch of funny business. So we make navigation of this program extremely easy. And of course, a big shout out to all of our Instagram listeners. Thank you guys this morning for joining us as well. Miss Bodden and others on Instagram. And then, it looks like Facebook is actually behaving this morning. All right. We're on the proper page. Good stuff. You just never know with Facebook. All right. So, yes, thank you guys so much for joining us. And don't forget, if you are a Flow customer, big shout out to Flow. We now have a toll-free number just for Flow customers. But hey, that's still pretty good. That you can call us on, which is 936-2626. So thanks again for them hooking us up with that toll-free number. All right, WhatsApp numbers, you guys have those. You can WhatsApp us on the same number, essentially. If you have any questions there, feel free to reach out via WhatsApp as well. And I'm getting questions already from last night. So I know you guys are very, very excited to have our guests here. So without further ado, let us get to it. Morning, Brenley. All right, so let's introduce the party leader first and foremost, Mr. Andre Ebanks. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. Good morning to the listening public, Caymanians and Caymanians overseas.
All right, beautiful. So we are very, very excited, obviously, to have you here. And I want to congratulate you for this step. And I guess, this is something that's going to be a little bit new for you, because I don't think you've ever been part of a party before.
No, actually, I have. I helped the progressives in the 2013 campaign.
Really? Oh, in the 2013. Okay. But in terms of setting it up from the very beginning, this would be a bit of a new experience for you.
Establishing a party would be a new experience, yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure undoubtedly it's great experience to have under your belt. We also have joining us Mr. Wayne Panton this morning. Good morning, Mr. Panton. How are you?
Good morning, Sandra. Good morning, Andre, and good morning to all of your listeners and those watching. Really happy to be here with you on this fine morning, this January of 2025.
Fantastic. All right. So we're going to display the names this morning. I know a lot of times we don't necessarily show names, but just in case we've got some new listeners to the program who may not be aware of, kind of who everybody is. We're going to keep that going so that you guys have an opportunity to see those individuals. And let me just grab one more thing here. I saw somebody just message and say, thank you. I got the link. You're most welcome. And of course, I always send it to additional groups. We got Washington Boulevard group. Big shout out to them this morning. We've got the Windsor Park group. And of course, the Caymanians in Florida group. who are always interested in what is happening back home as well. So let's go ahead and talk about, your organization. The first question that a lot of people have on their minds is, how will this organization be any different than what we have currently or what we've had in the past?
Excellent question. First of all, I just want to say thank you for having us, and how excited we are on this endeavor. It came about because we have left an experience that I don't think is any secret to the country, was uncoordinated, did not deliver the hope that we thought from April 2021. But we have to take our lessons in life and apply them to the future. We can't give up. This is our country. I have children. Other people have children and grandchildren. We have to leave Cayman better than we found it and give future generations what they deserve. How this came about was a careful study after our resignations, which was not any form of Machiavellian power move. It was born out of the reasons we set out as to why we thought enough was enough. And we took an honest look around to see the different options of groupings. And for a variety of reasons, and I don't want to start off on any sort of disparaging note. We're all Caymanians. There are good people, friends, family, relatives, colleagues that are assisting in different groupings. It doesn't serve us to be negative and counterproductive. But what we did identify is that we did not see a grouping that was laser focused on a grassroots movement from the bottom of the people up to the executive. We did not see a level of coordination and dedication to principled leadership. Yes, individual ministers can have success, but what we are establishing is experience, a mix of experience, a combination of experience, a combination of freshness and newness, to have everybody working with the same discipline, the same passion, and the same pace to deliver a complete transformation of the country, rather than individual successes that are piecemeal, a wholesale and comprehensive change. And that will only come about with organization, discipline, collaboration, experience, and new ideas.
All right. So you say lessons have been learned. Mr. Panton, what would you say in relation to the same question essentially is, why did you come to the conclusion that your organization will be any different or any better? And, hence why we're here today.
Right. Sandra, I don't think it's any secret. I have had public discussions and statements on the issue of political organizations, and that I have always been in favor of political organizations. I believe that is the most effective way to deliver on behalf of the country. I think last time we were in a situation where the voters of the country, I think, made it fairly clear that while some of us were operating as teams, none of us had a huge sort of party platform or team platform that went across a large number of constituencies. So we ended up in a situation where the people of the country indicated that they wanted to have something other than the established groupings. Now, Andrea, as the leader of our new party, has clearly set out why we have come together on this basis. And I would only add to that, really, that it reflects a shared commitment of principles and values that we all have. I think that it's clear that, you know, and most people will know what I mean by saying that. It's clear that, you know, we have these shared principles and values that have been demonstrated, that we have demonstrated over the last few years, and that has been a strong foundation to bring us together, to be able to seek to deliver for the people of this country, to make a difference in their lives, to improve Cayman, to think about our future, and to ensure that we're delivering for not just the prosperity of people today, but for the prosperity of our children of tomorrow. And of course, we also have the concurrent challenges relating to climate change, and all of the various geopolitical issues that are going on around the world, the political changes that are going on around the world, that all of which could potentially negatively affect Cayman. So we need very strong, forward-looking, principled leadership in order to ensure that Cayman can achieve its full potential, and Caymanians can basically have a better future going forward and achieve their full potential individually.
Mm-hmm. All right, we do have some prepared slides this morning, so I think a lot of your questions will be answered. Via the Money, I see yours about the political ideology. Just hang tight. We are definitely going to be able to answer some of those questions here today. So this is just a brief outline of, oops, my apologies, got the wrong camera turned on here. This is just a brief outline of the areas that we will be covering. They will be on for the entirety of this morning's program. So we encourage you to send your questions in, and we may get to your questions as we go through this morning's discussion. So hang tight, V Money Man, we're getting to you. All right, so we've heard, I think already the reasons of why to form a party. I don't think that there's any questions about where you stand there. So let's, I guess, figure out a little bit more about who is in this party, because one of the questions that we see that has come up is people are saying, well, we've seen all these guys before. What is now going to make them any different?
Okay, so let's start with the slide of who we are, mm-hmm. and our ideology. To identify, it is myself, Andre Eubanks, member for West Bay South, Honorable Wayne Panton, member for Newlands, Sabrina Turner, member for Prospect, Heather Bodden, member for Savannah, Catherine Eubanks Wilkes, member for West Bay Central, Osborne Bodden, he will be standing for Boddentown West, and Emily Deku will be standing for Georgetown East. That's who we are. Mm-hmm. We've created a party that has been founded on the ideology of putting Caymanians and the community first, and insist that government must be held accountable by promoting the engagement of its people in all that it does. What binds us together is that commitment to every policy being laser focused on how it will assist the community at all levels. Mm-hmm. We are seeing social decay in our country. We don't have budgets that are aligned to address the core issues. That ideology, that North Star, is what binds the group together to make it different, that we will bear down. And if it doesn't fit through that lens, we're either not going to do it or find a way in which it can be done to reconcile the views. Because one of the central challenges of this country, and we're seeing it all around us, is the division of Cayman. The community is splintered. You have a diminishing middle class, a growing economic class underneath, but then also a growing upper class. We are losing the ability to have healthy communities, health in the strongest sense possible, economic health, social health, Caymanians who can be proud to be here, students who can finally come back home, get the jobs they deserve, realign immigration, prepare education for the jobs of the future. Technology is coming like a freight train. We have to align for the jobs of the future and also broaden the jobs that items like AI will not affect so that we're well positioned as a country. Labor force, workforce development has been ignored. So once you have a structure of organization committed to Caymanians and strengthening the community and setting out clear priorities to tackle that and preparing a vision for the future, that we will all bite down together and not leave each other because of vanity projects, because of specific needs in a particular constituency that are out of whack with what the rest of the country needs. That is what is going to deliver change. And yes, there will be faces that have been seen before. And yes, as we come online with individuals that we're working to bring on board, there'll be a range of new people. But we believe that combination with that ideology and that unity can deliver changes. If I can give you one proof point, if Ms. Heather and I in social development, with the team around us, can set out a clear vision of where we want to reform the Financial Assistance Act. From the start of the administration, set out clear priorities that we want to reform the Children's Act, that we want to reform adoption, that we want to reform Older Persons Act. Set out a step plan working from the end backwards and working with the ministry to hit the milestones. You can deliver change, and those pieces of legislation are not easy. They come with aligning a department and reshaping a department, having technology, bringing people together, major focus groups. But just imagine that if you extrapolate that type of leadership, that type of unity with a focus goal, that you inspired the civil service to work under those goals to be able to deliver those milestones, and you pull that apart and apply that to all the ministries. Those are proof points that that type of strategy, that type of unity can deliver change. We just need to do it across all ministries to get the country moving again for the community.
So based on what you've said, it sounds like you have already identified within your organization that if certain persons are either reelected or elected to office, their core strengths would be in specific areas. And I'm assuming that they've agreed to work in those areas. So, one of the changes, if I'm understanding you correctly, and definitely feel free to, if I'm off the mark, feel free to guide me. But one of the changes I'm hearing is that before you guys even get elected, you have a vision, you have a plan, you have an understanding of where people will best be suited, where perhaps their interests are, where they have certain, specific attributes that could contribute to the country, as opposed to just throwing everyone together. You all sit in a room and then go right. How are we going to do the horse trading now in terms of who gets a ministry and what ministerial responsibilities will be split where?
To answer your question, in our Constitution, one of the objectives is governance. And the first objective is to form the government. So as we continue to add members, we initially want everyone signed on to the ideology I just outlined. Once the team is fully formed, we will then begin to designate individuals to specific subject areas. So we have not done that yet until the team is complete, but what you have said is the plan.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Very good. Mr. Panton, any thoughts this morning?
Yeah, just in relation to that, I think Andre has outlined clearly what our approach is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously have one of the attributes of this party and the current members is that we have a very significant level of experience, and spanning probably as much as 3 different administrations, and that I think lends to our ability to have the opportunity to put people who have natural strengths, natural levels of experience in different areas, and align those with how they can best serve. But as Andre has indicated, that is something that we will decide later on as we have the candidates filled out, and we know exactly who is running where. We can then bring to the country the proposed lineup in terms of who would take what positions or who might take what positions. So I think that lends, our very significant level of experience lends itself to that. On the ideology aspect, one of the things I would want to say is that, typically around the world, you have parties that are, they're designated as labor-based parties. Some are conservative, some are liberal. We're probably centrist, maybe slightly left of center in terms of our focus on our people. That, to me, our ideology is really about the first name, or in terms of the Caymanian Community Party, the second name there, Caymanian. It is our people that are, that underscore and underline and take center place in our ideology. It's about our people and what is best for them, and improving their lives and creating opportunity for them, and having a country that delivers for them, and very importantly, crucially importantly, offers opportunity for our young people going forward. I think a lot of the time we end up in situations where people today, certain people today, may feel that they have a right to pursue prosperity for themselves, irrespective of the impact on the future. And I believe, and I know it's a shared value across this group, that we think that the prospect should be for a sharing of prosperity for people today, whilst ensuring the prosperity of our children of tomorrow, not diminishing their opportunity. We want to maintain or enhance their opportunity. We want to ensure that their quality of life is as good or better than ours, and that means a range of things, including ensuring that education is properly aligned to the future aspects, the future opportunities, the future jobs, which Andre has indicated clearly relates to a range of things, including technology. The impact of technology on jobs and industry, and financial services, even tourism. So we need to ensure that we have a strong educational platform that delivers for the young people, that ensures that our people today are able to continue and to achieve, but delivers, importantly, opportunities for our children tomorrow.
All right, very good. And I think that if you guys, Cameron, I see your question that's actually coming up next. So if you continue to listen, you will see that this group has sat down and put some thought into this. So to Cameron's point, Cameron said, we've heard all this before from past parties. We want to know how you'll break the chains that have restricted governments from achieving these goals of which you speak. So again, distinguishing, and I think it's interesting, Cameron, because as someone who has been part of parties in the past, I think already I see a difference here in the sense that they're coming out to the general public and sharing their vision with everyone, not just the party members. So I'm just speaking from personal experience as someone who was on the ground with the PPM. We may have been doing stuff as an organization and trying to formulate and share a vision within the organization. But at that time, there was no sharing of that vision with the country. And of course, whether you are a member of this party or not, if these individuals or any other party is successful, it has to be a collective effort because everyone is involved. And you can't shun people or, not talk to people because they're not part of your group or organization or party. It's really important that there is wide inclusiveness across the spectrum of who we are as Caymanians. We have different faces. We come from, sometimes different backgrounds, different family structures. But at the end of the day, we're all Caymanians, including, Caymanians who have decided to adopt this country as their own. So there has to be that degree of inclusiveness. So back to this question, what is going to distinguish you from other political parties?
So as we took our hard look around initially after resigning, which was not an easy decision by any stretch, we took, as we said in our resignation press conference, those of us who did resign on the 31st of October, to take an honest accounting of what was there. In our view, there is an established party, but for a variety of reasons, their brand is challenged. It did not seem, even though I think it was the intention, because a number of us were there, to have a party in which it came from the constituency and district level that fed and guided the executive, rather than having a disconnect between the executive and the grassroots at the constituency and district level, which is what we have incorporated in our party's constitution. We are in a beginning stage, so we aren't able to activate it until we grow, but the framework is in place to start at the constituency association or branch level that over time will then select candidates, those that can address national issues and those who can address that the constituency feels and address specific constituency issues, and let the constituencies drive the conversation with a national conference and an executive that fuses that data to help form policy and the vision, rather than varying interest groups feeding into an executive and an executive making a patchwork of decisions which hasn't worked so far. We're aware of other groupings, but from our listening to the groupings, it sounds more of a corporate structure, which is not inclusive so far of the constituency and the grassroots to guide as being the guiding force. So the distinguishing factor that will be guiding us is the people. How many public meetings have you heard where people are crying out for district councils? It's been a nagging question. I don't think that the persons, by and large, who are advocating for that are advocating because they're seeking it as a launch pad to enter into politics. What they're seeking is to say, as a minister, you can't get to everything. There are only so many hours in the day. There's only so many days in the week and only so many weeks in the year. Let us help you. Do not view me as the enemy coming in who's going to stand against you in 2029. View me as part of the vehicle to help make you more successful. And if the relevant MP is doing their job, then that shouldn't be a problem. And if it is, that's democracy. There'll be a competition. But put that to the side. In the meantime, what's important is not your political future. It's how much meaningful, positive change can you deliver between the 4-year span as a country. If someone breaks away and then decides to compete against you, then that's democracy. But we can't be so driven to hold power as to block out the community and not get more meaningful things done. That's the distinguishing factor. So we are on a mission now, as we've taken a lot of work to hone down that ideology of the Caymanian Community Party. And just to stick a pin here, we did spend hours before knowing that the acronym could be played with. So we defined the acronym in the Constitution as TCCP, the Caymanian Community Party. We know it could be played with, but we didn't want to lose that focus on community because that is what's going to drive us. If we lose that focus, then to one of the callers' comments or questions, we then fold in to everybody else. That is going to be the distinguishing factor to guide us. You all, the people, actually contributing. I can tell you, and I know that, and I'm sure I can speak for Wayne Panton, I can speak for a number of the colleagues we have, a number of the ideas that I've put forward either in legislation have come from a notebook of me listening to people and taking those nuggets and adding them to legislation. So this is painstaking work to move legislation. It is painstaking work to bring together something like beneficial ownership for the country. This is painstaking work to work on climate change policy. All of those key deliverables came about not because the person at the top was so much a star. It's just setting out the vision, inspiring people behind that vision, making their input feel valued, collecting that value of information and analysis, and then delivering. So if I could just digress for 1 second, just as a proof point, let's look at where we are right now with the referendum for a cruise port. If you notice, there is a mixing of issues in that issue. It's a conflation of that if you're not for the referendum, you're all of a sudden automatically anti-cruise. What hasn't occurred in the ministry is setting out a vision of where cruise tourism should go in the country, doing the hard yards of consultation with both stakeholder groups. Start with who's going to say no. Why are they saying no? Are they saying no because they completely disagree, or do they agree something could be done, but disagree on the how? Form those focus groups. If the vision is that something has to be done, and I think by and large, in every conversation I've had, even with those who oppose, agree something has to be done. So let's work from there. Come together with a plan. It'll take time, as in all the other legislation that I've mentioned, and then deliver to a country a plan for acceptance. But because that hasn't been done, hopes have been pinned on a referendum to plunge the community in acrimony at a time of an election, and then gamble, pun intended, because there's a gambling aspect to the referendum, gamble with whether or not it's yes or no. If it's no, what happens to the livelihoods of my West Bayers, Kathy's West Bayers, who depend on it? What does the next Minister of Tourism do? If it's yes, it still hasn't delivered a plan, so the next minister still has to do the same work I just outlined. But because that work hasn't been done, hopes have been pinned on a referendum on the basis that hopefully it will be yes. Both sides are going to have their financiers have a campaign, which may or may not come out the way that anybody wants, and still no solution. Because the hard work of a vision and a plan behind the vision and galvanizing stakeholder groups to work towards that vision has not been done.
Very interesting. So getting lots of questions, obviously, from the audience. We'll try to get to as many of those as possible. All right. Okay. Let me just see. Cameron, thank you so much for your questions. Shaka Zulu is asking a question here, saying whether or not it's the possibility of reestablishing the Caymanian Protection Board that served Caymanians so well as opposed to the foreign investor for so many decades. And someone else made a comment in relation to that. I think it was Cassius, saying that Shaka, please remember that Caymanian now includes thousands and thousands of others. Bringing back the protection law will be more damage than anything else. So I'm sure that we're going to get to this at some point during the morning, but a lot of people have at the forefront of their mind, what will this organization be doing to better the lives of Caymanians in this community?
So the root of that question is within our objectives, and I think you have them displayed now in immigration. From what we see, you could label something different, but what's really going to bring it about, no matter what the name is whether or not Caymanians are put first place, and then it's actually enforced. That is not occurring. So how many times have we heard the story of the Caymanian who's working in a financial services firm or other firm, commerce firm, and feels like there's someone over them and they can't get ahead? From the business's standpoint, they feel that the process has deficiencies and they feel they aren't able to attract the talent. So workforce development is not working for anyone. We have to make sure that our policies are putting Caymanians first, utilizing and importing labor as needed, and making sure that we have valued long-term permanent residency. It's been talked about for so long in terms of how you can purchase certain things to gain that. That has to be changed ASAP. Going back to the word community in the party. We can speak to so many of my constituents who are first-generation Caymanians who assimilated with us. A number of them feel exactly as many multi-generational Caymanians feel right now. Where are we going? I put in my dues when I first got here, Andre. How is this person just rocked up? And then is building homes taller than mine. I came to this country and assimilated with it because of how it looked, because of how we pulled together. I'm sure, Sandra, you can think of first-generation Caymanians right now who you have to sometimes think back to yourself. I don't even see them as from someplace else. I actually see them as Caymanian. There's some of those who either we celebrate birthdays or unfortunately they're passing. We have to think, oh yeah, that person came down from Canada in 88. We have to get back to that sense of community, that those that are then granted the privilege of citizenship are among us. And that is not reflected in policy, and that's not being enforced in policy.
Very good. Sharia says that you guys are putting in some sound groundwork if you're seeking office for April 2025. We do have a caller in the line. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Morning.
Morning.
Congratulations on the formation of your party. And I have two questions for you. One has to do with, would you put in place legislation that requires the kind of public discussion and consultation that you were describing regarding referendum, so that that would be the standard practice instead of leaving it up to the wolves to decide what to do with the chickens?
In a specific issue or on referendum themselves?
Just on the framework, on the concept of how you properly conduct a referendum, because what you're describing is that people who may have disingenuous positions on things, or whatever, will come in and do it the way they want to do it because they are seeking an advantage. What I'm asking is those types of discussions should be required by legislation to take place, because if you ask someone a question about would you like to do X or Y, they need to have an informed, in order to make an informed decision, they have to have access to information and to hear dialogue on something, because some people may not be particularly familiar with a particular subject. So unless that consultation takes place publicly with sufficient time, because 28 days is not enough time for this type of stuff to take place. It needs to be required to be done. So,
no, excellent question. I follow you, sir. Yes, because let's take the current questions. If they're out of whether or not you're in favor of, excuse me, the exact wording of cruise facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
As an example, if I hear you, if I understand your question correctly, you don't have enough information now to make that call even by the time of the ballot box. And before you even get to the ballot box, which is your question, if the bill is allowed on the floor in that 28 days, you don't have enough information to guide me. If I'm not your MP, I don't believe, unless you move to West Bay South, I know who this is. But if you were my MP, you don't have enough information to guide me on how I should vote on the bill, because you don't have enough information. Which goes back to why, an even more in principle parliamentary democracy point, a minority government shouldn't be handling large matters or issues, because there just isn't enough time. So to answer your question, yes, when you're dealing with very large, nationally important issues, with things that have been plaguing the country for 20 years, there's a reason why this has been going around in circles for 20 years, is because there hasn't been an outline of transparent information so that you can make a judgment call. You may at the end still disagree, but if I understand your question correctly, you at least want the information to make that informed decision, which isn't going to happen now between now and the bill. The bill's already published, between now and the bill potentially meeting the floor of the House.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need a referenda framework that prescribes a sequence of events that need to take place, and timelines about how you have a discussion, because you see, what'll happen is, for example, you'll get a public notice that might go out by social media. Well, not everyone's going to be using social media. So you need to have something in place that properly informs the entire population about what is taking place, when it's taking place, what you're required to disclose, meaning all of the ifs, ands, whys, who, when, where, why, how, whatever of what's taking place,
Mm-hmm.
and have a proper discussion about it, not in an ad hoc way, and not leave it up to a particular party who might do it this way this time, and then another one does it differently the other time.
Definitely. Follow you now, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
And let's take another example.
The other question I want to ask you is, this is a bit rhetorical, but do you believe that civil servants should be required to follow the Constitution?
Yes. As a former civil servant, yeah.
Well, I'm going to be writing a civil servant that I've already written about complying with Section 19.2 of the Constitution, and so far they haven't complied. And that was from last year. And I've made multiple requests. And this is the reason why I'm bringing this up is the following. Earlier, you described why you guys would be different.
Mm-hmm.
And you laid out your the reasons for, how you would make decisions. And so as you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, well, that's great about what you're going to do. But what my question is by which mechanisms can we hold you accountable if you don't do what you said that you're going to do? And the reason this Section 19.2 is important is because at the very initial stages of trying to address an issue, you have to at least be able to get information in order to make decisions. And so when you write a civil servant and you say, look, the Constitution says you must give me written reasons for your decision, and your request is ignored, how is that good governance? When is that going to stop?
Correct. So the mechanism to hold the civil service accountable at the moment is under the Public Service Management Act, which falls from the governor via the DG. So depending on which ministry the question relates to, the reporting would go to the minister, and if the answer isn't forthcoming, the minister should be asking or requesting of the DG, this hasn't been answered per the Constitution. Please enforce the discipline over the relevant civil servants to produce the answer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I would like to ask, do you support the people's right to recall an MP?
That's an interesting one. So that would have to be, I believe, an amendment to the Constitution. Is that to address your question if there was an MP that, for a number of reasons, strayed and breached principles in the middle of a term, and there's no mechanism other than the next election?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, the caller is gone, but we have talked about this, and it was on yesterday's show as well. So that's correct. Sort of a traditional recall provision.
I can see why the caller would ask that. We should definitely take a look at that. Are there, when it was discussed yesterday, were there sort of advanced democracies where that was implemented that we could take a look at?
Can I just give you a kaboom? Oops, sorry, wrong one. But yes, I mean, that was the same question that I asked, and the examples that I gave were in relation to the US, for example, which they've had recall provisions only in 19 states, but it's only been utilized about 36 times, I think, and less than 50% of the time has it been successful. But let's not go too far down that rabbit hole, because that would be a show. But
what I could do, I could offer this, because you say we could be here till noon. But what I could do is that we're in the process under the Constitution to create a policy group that will touch, and I can identify the caller's voice, touch different callers for their input to see if we can add that as an issue to be analyzed.
Okay. All right. So, Denny, there you go. You might have an invitation to join another party. I think.
Sandra, can I ask, when you were doing your research on that, did you look at the provisions in the UK?
I did not, because it was literally during the show that we were just having a quick look at it. So I haven't done any sort of a deep dive, but
that sort of thing has been introduced in the UK. I think it's called the Recall of Members of Parliament Act or something like that. I think it was probably 10 years ago. I don't know what the historical record reflects in terms of utilization and how effective it is. But it certainly can be done. But Audrey's comments are right. You would need to have a constitutional change, and obviously that's not immaterial. So it's not something that could be done in a very straightforward way. But yeah, we could certainly review the record as to how it has worked there and perhaps elsewhere. But in principle, it's something that I don't think anybody should really have an objection to.
But of course, the devil is always in the details.
Yes.
And you have a lot of things in principle that sound good, but in application, they never work. And that's the problem.
That requires some analysis.
Yes. So I think that perhaps
that's why it's important to see how it has worked elsewhere.
Exactly. And that was my point, because another caller said, which again, in principle, this sounds like a wonderful idea, but application is two different things. Mm-hmm. They said, we should have the option whereby someone can, the country, basically the constituents, have a contract with their elected officials. And that then means that we hold them accountable to that contract. And if they don't deliver, then we just fire them. I mean, that sounds good. But the point I put to the call is, show me an example of where that has worked anywhere in the world. And then we could perhaps build on that. If nobody else has deployed it, it's never worked. There's probably a very practical reason why it hasn't. So we do have a few callers on the line. Let's go ahead and start with Mr. Macfield. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning to you, Ms. Sandra, and good morning to Mr. Panton, and good morning to Mr. Ebanks.
Good morning.
What I would like to know is, have they published the ideology of the party? What does the party, what's the core of the party? What does it stand for?
So
because parties come out of, parties are arise out of some turmoil or some scheme or something like that. I know how parties started in England, the history of the political parties in England. I know that. I know how parties started in the Caribbean, but I don't know how the parties start here. I know how the first parties start in Cayman, the NDP and the Christian Democrats in the 1960s. I know why they started, but I don't know why this party started and what's the ideology. And the other thing, I think one of your members stated that that the party stands for putting Caymanians first and things like that. Is that an ideology of the party? Because I know what the ideology of the National Democrats in England. I know the ideology of the Conservatives and the Labour, and I know the ideology of the Parti Québécois in Canada, and the Liberals and the Conservatives and the NDP. But I don't know what their ideology is, because if that's their ideology, then have they putting that in their manifesto, and is that going to be part of the party's core constitution that they are going to do these things? And another thing, are they going to start a drive for party members?
Right.
Because it seems to me that they're the only party members. And,
well, I don't think that isn't true. But Mr. Macfield, I know it seems like you've got a lot of questions. So let's perhaps, if I could have you hang up and then listen to the answers, because some of the questions they have answered already.
I just have one more question to them.
Sure.
And then since there are multiple parties now in the Cayman Islands, how is the ballot going to be marked? How the ballots are going to be? Are the ballots going to be redesigned to show that people voted for a particular party instead of voting for the individuals? How do you know? How do you know that your party got the majority of the vote?
Okay, that might be an elections question, but thank you very much, sir.
Well, that's not an election question. That is a question that the party should that they would have to ask the election office or ask the government to change the election law to include those on the ballot, to show that this particular party got a majority of the vote, and that you didn't vote just for individuals.
I just want to remind I don't know who else is listening or speaking, but I do hear some background conversations. We can partly hear you, so when you call, please be respectful and just mute yourself. Okay, Mr. Macfield, I think we got some questions for them. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate the phone call. All right, so
thank you.
I think some of those questions have been answered already. So maybe he joined the program a little bit late about your ideology and what you stand for. But if you could perhaps briefly recap, that's fine.
Yes, because there will be people joining it at different times. One small historical note, I just wanted to publicly say to the caller, thank you. He was my first experience in law.
Oh!
My dad was in banking and was writing me to follow him into banking, and I just knew that wasn't for me initially. but I give a lot of props to Harry Chisholm, who taught me a lot about banking. I worked at RPC for a while, but my first job out of university, coming back to Cayman, was with Steve McField in his office, and I learned a lot, and I know where his heart is in terms of constitutional issues. So thank you, sir. If I hadn't said so publicly, thank you for my first experience in law. We'll repeat the party's ideology. That this is founded on the ideology of putting Caymanians and the community first, and insists that the government must be held accountable by promoting the engagement of its people in all that it does. In answer to the objectives, yes, those are enshrined in our Constitution. We have a landing page that is up for the party. It will be soon be published and linking the documents to it so that all can read. And I'm sure in subsequent shows, as knowing Mr. McField as I do, I'm sure he will read those, and happy in a subsequent show to have those tested and have a more detailed discussion. But yes, those will be made available, and yes, there will be a membership drive.
Okay.
But can I just clarify? Yes. Can I just clarify, Sandra? I think Mr. McField is under the impression that the members of the party are only those candidates that have been
right.
named. And that is not correct. We have a number of Caymanians who have come together as subscribers to the Constitution of the party, and it is a fairly broad and diverse group of people who reflect all of the constituencies that are in that the candidates currently will be reflecting or competing for. So that is one important fact, that this is not something that the candidates themselves have just gotten together and signed up as a constitution. We have engaged with our supporters, with our constituents, but obviously when you form a party, when you do any organization, you can't have sort of this unrestricted number of people. You have a sort of core group that are part of the initial members who helped to found the party, and then you build from there. So we haven't done this on our own. We have a fairly sizable number of people who are already on board with us, and we are building from that.
Okay, thanks very much. We do have another caller in the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, everybody, and congratulations to the. Good morning. Congratulations for the creation of the party. It will be very interesting to follow.
Good morning, sir.
I've got 3 questions. Good morning. I've got 3 questions, but I'll be very brief. I'll get straight to them in one comment. The first one is: does your party have a policy on immigration which incorporates the targets you want to meet, as well as how to meet those targets? Question number 1. Question number 2, under the Public Service Management Law, it says that a Caymanian will only be given preference in a job if their qualifications are roughly the same as that of a foreign person. Now, that doesn't give any advantage at all to Caymanians. Are you ready to amend that law so that it says instead that if a Caymanian qualifies for the job, they should be given the job even if they've got a foreign person who is better qualified than them? Question 3, under the immigration law, there's that regulation, I think it's 5 or 6, one of the early regulations. It used to say that when people applied for work permits, they shall provide a succession plan. And it was amended to say they may provide a succession plan. It doesn't matter how many times people are going to talk about, Caymanian not being given jobs, unless that is changed to shall. The targets are not going to be met. Are you committed to amending that? Then finally, just a very brief comment. I think that you need to look at the structure of the judiciary in relation to the Judicial and Legal Service Commission. This is not a question. You see, if you go to the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, you've got the President of the Court of Appeal, He is a member of that commission. You've got the Chief Justice, a member of that commission. And yet, if that commission makes a decision you don't like, technically, you can go to court and have it judicially reviewed because it is just an administrative tribunal. And yet, when you go to court, who are you going to meet? The same people, the Chief Justice and the President of the court, are going to have to review their own decision. I'm litigating that matter. It is before the Court of Appeal. I think it's a structural thing that you need to look at. It's not a question, but I think it's something that you need to ponder, as well as ponder the whole judiciary. Okay, because in my view, even the Privy Council has been, and this is my opinion, right, has been corrupted. They were given a free holiday by the Cayman government, by the governor, and yet in a few months they'll be deciding cases where the governor was being questioned in terms of his decisions in the case, for example, involving Katina Anglin. I should thank you very much. Let me hear your comment if you have any on that fourth point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we have lots of people trying to call in, so do bear with us this morning, callers as well.
Sandra, can you go to displaying our objectives and go to immigration?
All right, let me just see where, there we are.
So this is the broad framework, if I could read it, because I think that was the root of 2 or 3 of the questions. And this, to Wayne's last point in terms of the initial subscribers, also would galvanize them in terms of supporting the party. Because as far as they're concerned, this is one, and they're correct, one of the top issues of the country. Ensure immigration policies protect Caymanians as a first priority, give security to valued long-term residents, and facilitate imported labor strictly as needed, while implementing stricter controls on the granting of Caymanian status and limiting permanent residency options to preserve the demographic balance of the islands. So that is the broad visionary framework. Once we begin to drill down into policy, we're forming our policy council and working groups. By the time to answer one of the Mr. McField's points that was left unanswered, but then publish in the manifesto more granular detail. At the point of this discussion is to launch the party, set out broad vision and objectives, and then return to the people with proposed solutions. You will have callers that will come behind us or groups that will come behind us, and I think the public will say, well, you'll say the same thing of identifying the issues because we all feel them. The next work is engaging our people through the course of the campaign to then propose specific solutions.
Okay. And to that point, I know people have a lot of detailed questions this morning. Someone just, asked about mental health, crime, domestic abuse, addiction, sex offender registry. Several people have asked if this organization will be supporting a sex offender registry. We will get into the details. So today is a bit of an introductory segment. We will get to see, and I know Mr. Ozzie is in the background waiting, so we're going to pull him here in a second. We'll get to talk to some of the candidates, asking some broader questions, but we will do a deep dive into a lot of these areas to see exactly where the party's vision is and what your proposed solutions are. We've got another caller in the line. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program. Good morning.
Morning.
Hi.
Yeah, I understand that there is a ideology of putting Caymanians first, and I wish on that front to commend the party for their approach in that way. There have been a lot of debate, though, over the years as to who is Caymanian. And the debate has gone so far as to define some as Johnny come lately. So I'm wondering if the party has a definition as to who is Caymanian, or does it adopt the legal definition?
Very interesting question. Thank you, sir. All right. Who's Caymanian?
You are a Caymanian per the Immigration Act.
All right. Simple.
Yeah, and our experience has been over the years that whether no matter how people come along to their are on their path to becoming Caymanians, once they become Caymanians, interestingly, they start to identify in the same way as sort of the more indigenous Caymanian groups or group on issues that affect all of us. So Caymanian is a Caymanian once they have Caymanian status. You can't. I don't think you can change that. And I think the reality is they start to feel the same issues that we do. And they quickly self-identify as Caymanians on the in terms of the same concerns that the typical Caymanian indigenous families would face. Is that true of 100% of people? Perhaps not, but I think that by and large, the vast majority of people who have status have those concerns. And certainly when it comes to all the ordinary challenges of life and the cost of living, which is one of the number one issues that people are concerned about broadly, we all feel it. So I don't see any distinguishing factor there at all.
All right. And Mr. Panton, people are just asking you to just speak up just a little bit. They're having some difficulty at times as your voice dips. Yeah, put that mic up a little bit closer.
Mic closer?
Yes. And don't let that voice of yours dip. Sometimes it does. That's a soft, gentle side of Mr. Panton.
Yeah. I have other sides though.
Oh yes, we've seen the fire. For sure. Speaking of fire, honey chow, let's go ahead and welcome Mr. Osborne Bodden this morning. Good morning, Ozzy. How are you?
Good morning. Sorry. Good morning, Sandy. Good morning to the viewers and listening audience. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's been a while, Sandy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have you on the program. We do have a caller, so let's go ahead and get to this caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to everyone.
Yes, good morning.
I must congratulate the new party for the Cayman Islands. Looking at everybody on the panel and everybody that is in the party, the party speaks for itself with the face. We see Caymanians. Number one, I must say that I'm not a born Caymanian. I'm a paper Caymanian, but I have Cayman children, so I am a Caymanian. And, to the caller that just called in to ask, who are Caymanians? Caymanian are the people who stand in the country and build the country and work as a everyday. But one of the things I want to say to the people of Cayman is not everybody that comes to the island can become a Caymanian. We must thank the Cayman Island government and also the born Caymanians for the opportunity that they give us as an expat to come into the country and work and build our life. Simply as a country big as Canada would not allow that much people on a work permit that a little island like Cayman Island give the opportunity to come and work and build life. And I want us to start looking at life and as Cayman Island as a realistic place. It's not a place where we can just come and tell ourselves, okay, we can do whatever we want whenever we want. I'm living in the US and it's not easy. I'm not an American. It's not easy to get a work permit. It's not easy to get a job if you're not an American, you're not a permanent resident, you're not a citizen. And Cayman Island is so small and we're crowding the island. There's no place for us to buy a land, build a house, nothing. And I want us to start looking at these areas and not just as, we can come to the Cayman Islands, we can make money, we can build life, we can do this. That is not what Cayman stand for. We're breaking down the country. So at any point in time, the government need to make a serious decision and said, hey, enough is enough. We're going to give you time to come 7 years, build your life, and go back home. What do we do with the other Caymanians that are going overseas that the government are investing in to study? When they come back home, there's no job. The government need to come together with companies, accounting companies, law firms. When they send these people overseas, they should have a place to come back at these companies and work. At least each company in the Cayman Islands should be given 10 spots to a Caymanian to go into. Any firm in the Cayman Islands should have 10 spots for government people when they come back from scholarship. Because what the sense government is wasting their money, sending them to study, come back and there's no position for them to work. That's waste of government money, waste of the children time, and even waste of, I can't say taxpayer dollars because we don't pay tax, which we should be grateful for, because I hate paying tax in the US. So
well,
any Caymanians
we pay it, but it's not direct taxation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I need people to wake up and stop being victim and all. Okay, man, no. You get a chance to come to the Cayman Islands and work. Just say thank you, Jesus, because it's better than back home.
A lot of people asking for me to give you a kaboom, so allow me to do that.
Stop breaking down the government. Stop breaking down the people who are trying to build Cayman. It's not going to work. And I'm saying this to Cayman, this is the best you're going to get. So when you go to vote in April, you better vote good. Because if you don't vote good, you're going to know where Cayman Islands is going to be. We're just a little dot. I'm overseas. And when they talk about these islands, do you think they talk about us big? They talk about us in like a little dot.
All right. Thank you so much,
so
caller.
Voters need to get their act together and stop playing the blame game, because they're the same people who put the same people there.
Wonderful. Thank you, caller. I appreciate it. So just a reminder, someone on WhatsApp said, please remind the callers to keep it brief because a lot of people are trying to call in. You guys know I don't really put a limit on you, honey child, but be mindful. Caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
I want to give that more than kaboom.
We need a second kaboom. Hold on, honey child.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
She said it all.
Yes.
I wasn't here and I wanted to say it because the problem is everybody want to stay. Oh my goodness. Just be thankful for the time that you're granted.
Yeah.
Just be thankful for the help that we offer. I tell my Jamaica friends, because they say, they did so much for Jamaica. I said, I know that we use your money, the boats used to come, everything, but we can't take all of Jamaica, and we do give a lot of permits and everything.
Yeah.
And we have been good to Jamaica and we appreciate Jamaica. Because one thing that a lot of people don't know, we have a lot of Caymanians that were born in Jamaica. That their parents went there to have, and it was having medical problems,
Yeah.
And we have a lot of connection, but we can't give to everybody.
Yes.
And the next thing people need to stop fighting down. They see a group. You don't know what a person goes through until you walk in their shoes. Everybody can fix it. Why don't you fix it? We have too much fixers and not enough person to help. Helpers. We need helpers. Give a person a chance. Because we fail once, I don't think we should just get rid of them. I truly believe the group is trying to make a comeback in the way that they would want it from the beginning. But, like they say, they decide to come as one now, because when you're working with others that have other motives, it's hard to do. Let us listen to them, see what they're saying, and give them the opportunity to do what they're saying, because in 3 years, it's hard, even if they had stayed in there, to do anything. You got so much laws to change and try to get changed. There's so many things that were put before them that's been 20 years in advance that nothing was done with. You know, why are we not killing the others that's been there 20 years before that didn't get it done? And the people in their party is running down the other parties. And guess what? They was right there in that party, still in the party, but yet they see another party and they're criticizing a party that's just coming on. But that's a hypocrite. And we got too many hypocrites.
Leave me there, honey child.
Go on, sweetie. Later.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very, very much, Miss Joyce Ann. Phone calls hot today. Good morning, caller. Keeping it brief is a skill, but try it for me today.
I will do my best. Good morning, and good morning to all your guests.
Oh, good morning, my dear.
Good morning.
I'm doing well, thank you. My questions keep changing as the conversation goes on.
Yes.
So I guess right now my question is, will your party be looking at population growth or capping the population, etc.? And if so, how will you look at incentives for Caymanians to have more children as a way of growing the population rather than continuing to incentivize others to come here? Because basically, that's, in my opinion, that's what's happening, is that the world is looking in and they're like, oh, yay, let me come and live in paradise. And the average Caymanian is looking like, oh, I need to leave. Or, oh, I will stay, but I won't have any kids because I can't afford it, etc.
Really?
So will you look at population growth?
I have a question.
How will you...
Caller, can I just ask a point of clarification? You actually think Caymanians have issues having children? I mean, I don't know who you're looking at, but I don't see... with
I
don't see that being a problem.
I don't want to say with sense because that would be rude, but Caymanians that are not...
Oh my gosh. Sounds like what we need is family...
on welfare.
Okay, so what we need is family planning.
Population growth.
Yeah.
But if you're going to look at population growth, right, which is my first question, if they're not even considering that, then the rest of my question is irrelevant. But if you're going to look at growing the population, how are you going to do that? Are we going to continue to just grow the population from outside and continue to outnumber Caymanians, or will you? But if you're not even going to look at population growth, then the rest of my question is irrelevant. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, caller.
One more question. One more question. What happens if you guys don't get enough elected members from your party to form the government?
Thank you very much.
Will you just say, I will be on the opposition, or who will you work with, or who won't you work with?
All right, great. Thank you. Lots of questions. So the last one, we actually had another person ask that question as well. They tuned in this morning and they said, please ask your honorable guests, in the event that your party does not receive a majority, would you consider forming a coalition with other parties or with independents?
All right, I'll come to that question, but I also want not leave the first part of the caller's question unanswered. In terms of population growth or management, yes, that's going to be part of the sustainable plan for the country. So as you displayed in immigration, what we are seeking is imported labor as needed. And then as you move towards citizenship, a stricter way of how you are valued long-term resident. Before you're coming to Caymanian, you hear the cry and you see it in practice that it feels too easy. Not the folks that have been assimilating with us the whole time, for many times, who are first-time Caymanians that I mentioned, I think, at the top of the hour. You don't even look at coming from somewhere else because they feel Caymanian. That's what we have to get back to. In terms of more Caymanians here, that would be very difficult for any government to convince people to have more children. But what you can do is restore the quality of life so more Caymanians want to stay in Cayman for the prospect of growing their family. That might be the best way to answer her question, because you want Caymanians to thrive in their homeland, be proud, and be able to live in their homeland to further have for future generations. In terms of switching now to coalitions, our objective is to form the government. So I know that there will be those who swim in political circles and say, well, this one is not going to get in and that one's not going to get in. It's going to end up in coalition. I do not want the team to start with a defeatist attitude. The point is to find people who are of like mind, who buy into the vision to form the government outright. As the campaign continues and we begin to see what the other groups stand for and analyze other manifestos, we would then be in a position to say who we're best aligned with. But out of the gate, I want us to have the strict mindset that the objective is to form the government and don't think otherwise.
Are you muted?
I don't know anybody else. I can't hear Sandra.
I don't hear Sandy.
I can't hear her either.
I can hear everyone, but on the radio you can't hear. On the radio you can't hear. It cut off.
Oh.
But I can hear everyone right now. I can hear Sandra and I can hear the guest.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Back now.
Okay. I think what we had going on is someone was trying to call me on WhatsApp on this computer. So let me just for the sake of making sure that we can hear everyone correctly, the show number 936-2626, you can call on WhatsApp on that number as well. So try not to call me on my personal number in WhatsApp, because then that's coming through the computer. And I think that causes, as you can see, some audio problems that time. Okay. So phone number, and I know those of you calling from overseas obviously use the WhatsApp method, 345-936-2626, and that will bring you directly into the show with all audio elements working correctly. Let's take a few comments from our listeners. Inspiring says, count on our votes, me and my family members. Noli says, Caymanians don't have a problem having kids, but then most are in NAU. Deborah Bodden says, more children for what? To live off government? Blackberry says, I think she's saying the affluent won't have more and more children because of the cost of living. I don't think, well, she was saying sensible people should contemplate having more children, but of course, family planning, folks, is really, really important. It's something that we have talked about often on this program. And so we will obviously continue to talk about. Let me just play a music bed to get the Bobo back online. And then we're going to come back and talk to Ozzy and take your continuing questions and comments as well. So just give me 1 second. We'll play, of course, our beloved Isle Cayman. All right, wonderful. We are back on radio live. I was just confirming the feed there, so we're good to go. Let's go ahead and speak to Ozzy. Now, keep in mind, folks, I know everybody's so excited. Somebody said we only have 3 months to get to talk to them and get to know them. It's not enough time. And of course, I've encouraged everyone from months ago to, know that people want the opportunity. Some of you, they may know, and especially for new candidates that they don't know as much about, they want the opportunity on here to ask questions, to drill you really, and put you to the test and get comfortable enough to know that either they're going to give you a vote or they're not. So that's really important. But here we are. We go with what we've got. Ozzy, of course, you're no stranger to the people of the Cayman Islands. I think most of us know you and know you well. And in fact, some of the questions already coming in this morning show how well we know you. Someone said, where's the cow cod, please? So in any event, Ozzy Bodden is joining us. Thank you so much for coming on. And we want to speak to you. The first question that came in for you, let me just see if I can find this one. Someone essentially said, why did you decide to work with this group as opposed to the PPM? So yes, the question says, why did Ozzy decide to rejoin PPM after agreeing to do so? After agreeing, I think they meant not to do so, but then join this new party. So have you? I know some years ago you resigned. Did you sign back up with the PPM?
No.
No. Okay. So clarify position and where you're at today.
Okay. Good morning again, and Happy New Year to all the listeners and viewers. And we do hope it will be a very happy New Year and a better 2025 for everyone. Sandy, let me start. First of all, I think it's important that I establish who Ozzy really is. You know me and my colleagues as well, but I started in community service as a youngster, teenager in school. First of all, through the Rotaract Club, I went on as an adult to be in many district organizations. I joined the Lions Club in 1989. I'm a life member and past president of the Lions Club. And from the Lions Club, I entered politics for the first time in 2000. I ran by myself. It was myself and Joe Ebanks, two young men up against the then established Roy and Gilbert show in Bodden Town. We had a fair outing, and people thought that it was a good chance for us to run back. My involvement in being outspoken started from in the 80s when I went off to college in the UK, and in the 90s. And I guess I put myself into it by writing letters to the press at the time, the Compass, and expressing views and things that I'd been exposed to overseas and seeing my country from that perspective. And it's so funny, but I have those letters, and many of the things that I spoke about and warned us about are still coming to fruition. Some have come to fruition and really bit us. And it's a lot of what we've been talking about this morning. Amazing. So, of course, a man is not a king in his own land, right? Nobody listens to the local voice sometimes. So went on, got elected for the first time with the PPM. The PPM was formed in 2001, as you know, with the founding members. I came on shortly after. You were there. There were many in the community who joined the PPM, and we had a very vibrant party. And I served 4 years on the backbench until 2009. I came out of office in 2009, and I went back into office as a minister of the PPM in 2013, along with Mr. Panton. We worked hard, but sadly, neither of us, I think, were re-elected at the time. And at that time, there were some that we started to develop some differences with the ideology of the PPM, because the basic principle of the PPM was a grassroots movement, just as we see ourselves being now. It was very important that the party is governed from the top down. That gives the people a voice. We have our district committees, our district constituencies. I would like to see, hopefully, we will have district councils this time around. And so I saw the PPM losing that, and we then got accused of being a special interest group and whatnot. That did not sit well with me, and then we embraced others that I do not see eye to eye with politically, and I left the PPM. I resigned from the PPM. I've never been back to the PPM, neither has Mr. Panton. In 2021, myself and Mr. Panton started talking again about honestly, we were just talking about the state of play in Cayman and what we saw going on. And we would have breakfast mornings and lunches and whatnot. And that gradually took on momentum, and we took Miss Heather Borden, who was in our office as our assistant back then when we were ministers up to 2017. And we, Mr. Panton, led what became known as Community Creates Country. We ran as a threesome in the election. I was unsuccessful in Borden Town East, and I went on after that to serve as chairman of the HSA up until recently. I was honored to be appointed by the government in that capacity. I say all that to say that I bring a wide range of experience, not only in government, but in the private sector. And also I started my own business. I took over the family business, I should say, in 2001, and I ran it successfully for the past 23 years. So I think I know a bit about government and a bit about Cayman and a bit about our financial industry and tourism industry. I worked in the financial industry for 20 years, and I left that as a vice president of a company in 2001 to take over the family business. So that's the real Aussie. Some of you only know, you hear about the Calcutta or the this or the that, that Aussie. And, you know, we have young people, we have newer people, and all of them, I think it is important that you understand who I am. Now, having laid that framework down, I am not somebody that is willy-nilly. I'm very loyal. I know my own mind. I know the type of people that I want to be associated with. And when I really was totally disillusioned with government and what I saw going on in the past 3.5 years, let's call it, with the way the actual political arm of government was acting. It was not something that I, God knows, I would not have wanted to be a part of that. I saw the way it was formed, the way it came about, and it was not the way that I believe that government. I've always been a part of a structured system. I mean, I was a party member, so I don't know what the individual or the independent thing is really about. So when I started being encouraged and really supported to come out and represent Borden Town West, I looked careful at it. I discussed it with my family, as I always do. You know, honestly, I have a son who really pushed me, and he said, Dad, I believe you have one more in you. I said, boy, I think you're wrong. Anyway, we laughed and we talked about it, and I said, okay, I started talking to what I call key people in the constituency and other people in the broader district. And I found a lot of support, apart from the people who were pleading with me behind the scenes to run. So I started to paddle my little canoe upstream quietly, although I had said I was done and I did not want to be a part of the mess that I saw. I started to paddle my canoe because it looked as if that there is a real void in the representation in Borden Town West. So I was going along on that route and not making a lot of noise, as I said, but doing what I had to do. Then Mr. Palin and I, not long ago, less than 2 weeks ago, had another one of those conversations. And he hadn't told me previously what the group were doing, but apparently they've been working for the past 3 months or more at this, what is now the TCCP. So we had a chat, and he said, well, you know, we had a very long chat, 3-hour chat, talking about various things and you know, telling him, you know, what I was thinking of. And then he basically opened up what had been going on, and we had another chat then with the leader, and that gave me a much more insight into what this group was really about. First of all, the group is made up of people that I trust wholeheartedly. That is very important to me. As I started this, when I started, I said loyalty is important to me. I am loyal, and I like people to be loyal. I don't sleep well with knives in my back, and I don't sleep well, thinking that I have to wake up the next morning and hear a scandal or hear that somebody has totally shifted direction on me, and I'm left wondering what the heck happened overnight. So I found this group as it is, as a group of solid people I know well. There's only really one person in the group that I don't know that well, but I'm starting to know her well. And the ideology that you've heard, the Caymanian first, the enough is enough, really gravitated and really, really stuck to me, because that's what I'm all about. And I live in this Cayman Islands and I move around it from one end to the next. I move in all circles. And I think I'm well prepared, and I've heard the frustrations about what's going on. And I feel that the ideology this group brings to the table, we don't have all the solutions. We never will. And we don't have a manifesto yet. We haven't fleshed out policy points. So we can't drill down into heavy questions that some people will want to ask at this point. But I promise you that we will, before it's over, have a policy position. And we will be listening to the public and to our base as we grow that. We have founders base at the moment, and really solid people that have gathered behind us and signed up and subscribed to what we believe in after being presented about what the party ideology was about. We have a constitution that is already in place. And I believe that Mr. Andre, the interim leader, is a very competent, able, younger Caymanian. I'm gonna call him young because he's not that young no more, but he's younger than me, that's for sure. I am now a senior of the party, and I think that he brings to the table a wealth of knowledge and experience, public service as well as political service, and on top of that, mostly a good heart, a good passion for these islands. Mr. Panton needs no introduction. Former premier, a man who leads with his heart on his shoulder, who cares for this country, who cares for its people, helps people from one end to the next. Gets cursed for it, mind you, but he does as I do. Never, just because I'm not in political office, don't mean I stop helping people. I help people all the time. And that is just my nature. I love people, I love my community. And therefore, I look at my grandkids and I say, I want you all to have a bit of what Papa had growing up in this island. I want you all to have a Cayman that you feel good about. I want you all to be able to make a living in your own country. Just yesterday evening, when we all gathered in our constituency offices, I had a younger couple come in to see me, BT West residents. The lady was crying. She could not get her one kid doing their levels, the other one in university now. He's the one that could be registered. I think the other one is too young. But he refuses to register to be an elector because he doesn't see a future in Cayman. And he refuses. He's saying that he's not going to come back here after he's done. That mother is torn to tears for her two children. This evokes a lot of passion in me. This is why I'm here. We have to fix Cayman. It's not easy because a lot of damage has been done already. We have sold out to an extent. We have given away to an extent. I remember writing a letter that spoke to what I saw, and that was the development of Cayman, leaving behind the development of its people. the people were expected to just run along behind the train and pick up, as I said, the scraps from the table. I don't see that as the way forward. I believe our Caymanian people, the people that we have come from, the hardy, hard-working seamen and women of this country, the people who built this country, are deserving of more than that. We come from good people, or we all come from somewhere, don't get me wrong. But the indigenous Caymanians, as if we can label them that, those of us multi-generational Caymanians come from some solid, hardcore, hardworking, intelligent people. It is us to grow these islands with similar people of similar quality. What we have done, the mistake we have made, my mother told me before she passed, she said, Osborne, we are importing rubbish. We are importing people that can't help us. When you import the wrong people and then you turn around on top of that and you give them status, as we said early in the show, when you have status, you're Caymanian. Those people are now a burden on your social services, on your NAU. Those people can't help you to build Cayman. You have to look carefully at who you give residence and status to in this country. When you do that, you're going to have a better Cayman Islands. We cannot be, we are a tiny little island nation of 3 tiny islands. We cannot be all things to all people. We cannot, let's use Jamaica. Jamaica is huge compared to us. If Jamaica sent everybody here, we'd sink. So we can't take all Jamaicans. We have close connections with Jamaica. We have awesome Jamaicans here. We have people, Jamaicans, who have worked from day one with us to build the Cayman Islands. But we have to be sensible and decide which Jamaicans we are going to take in as citizens.
And we don't necessarily, not to make it specific to any one particular country.
No, I use an example.
It's an example of the overall framework that has to be a bit more selective. But what I want to draw out, because I know we have former Minister Cathy that we want to come into before we run out of time. So I don't mean to cut you, Ozzy, but also want to make sure that Minister Cathy gets in. But what I want to deposit with the country is one of the things that drew me to Ozzy when we first started talking and sat down was I was aware of prior incidents. I asked probing questions about them and what he'd learned from those experiences. But what touched me is that he reminded me that he was a former social development minister. It was called Community Affairs then. And he looked at me and he said, "You've done quite a bit, but you know, because I've been in your shoes, that budget is not aligned to really make a positive impact and then connect to a flow into the workforce. So yes, you help to upgrade laws. Some of them have never been in place or have been touched in 10, 20 years, which is a great framework. But I'm here to help you advocate in the next administration for a realignment of the budget to make a real impact of resources to curb the social decay that we're seeing in our country." And that is what spoke to my heart, that we were aligned in that capacity.
Yes, thank you, Andre.
All right, so if we can pause you there, Ozzy.
Sure, I know it's a lot, and sorry about that, but I just wanted to give a sort of background and as to why I'm here and why I'm with this group.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for that, Ozzy. And Zandra, can I just nominate Ozzy for several kaboons? I think he's going to get to some of those.
You're not the only one. So. Yeah, absolutely.
I know his heart is, and I know how committed he is to serving people.
Yes, and lots of people.
There are those who will, sarcastically comment that this is about a job and this is about a pension and all this. There's nothing of the sort. None of us are here to get a paycheck. We're here to serve the people of this country. The leader of this party left a job where he was on track to be able to be promoted to the top of the organization. He could be making a lot more money today than what he's making now. But he left to join government midstream, a great career in the private sector because of his level of desire to serve this country and serve its people.
Okay.
That is what we all share.
All right. We've got a few callers, and now I'm going to read some of the comments here in a second as well. Caller with 929, you're up first. Go ahead.
Good morning. Hello?
No, you're 1 second, Michelle. The next caller was first, so you hold on one.
I'm not gonna get bargain for why he's gonna say, but I don't care.
All right, hold on 1 second. Caller with 929, you can go ahead and start out first.
Hello, good morning. I just wanted to say that all the candidates, all the potential running, the ones that are in there now, I keep hearing Caymanians first, Caymanians first, Caymanians first. And that sounds great on the surface. However, what we need to be extremely cognizant of is there is a whole entire spectrum of varying Caymanians. You have the Caymanians, the likes of someone who is unemployable either by choice or not. Multiple children, perhaps multiple different fathers of their children who are dependent upon any youth. You have the middle class Caymanian who perhaps has a decent job, pays a mortgage, has, pays their bills, maintains themselves, completely independent. However, upon retirement, there's no real plan thereafter, being unemployed. You have the Caymanians like the Fosters and the Kirkconnells that are very well off. Their needs are completely different, obviously. You have the Caymanians that are like Lavelle Marriott, and I need not describe what that is about. You have the Caymanians that are like perhaps in Kimmerak, Mr. Elvis McKeever, who his needs will vary completely opposite from the other person. Not to mention all the Caymanians that call in on your show, Sandra, and their opinions, their recommendations, their ideologies are totally opposite from somebody else in that spectrum. What you have the Caymanians like Mr. Andre Ebanks and Mr. Wayne Panton. Their needs, their desires, their goals are going to be completely different from the person who is standing up and dependent upon any youth. So my point is this. Yes, Caymanians first, but that doesn't say anything because my needs and what I want may be completely different from a business owner. When you talk about immigration reform, you'd have a set of Caymanians that want all permits to cease today. Then you'll have another set of Caymanians who are business owners, who I think I got that twisted, but you get my point. That are going to fight for those immigration permits. You have a set of Caymanians that are pro minimum wage. You have a set of Caymanians that are completely anti minimum wage. So instead of us keep on saying Caymanians first, we need to define what that is, because I can tell you that a lot of sentiments that are shared on this show, I completely disagree with. And then there's some that I do agree with. And I am a natural, born to the bone in my DNA Caymanian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So I think really the question there from that caller is you can't be all things to all people. And she says, and it's so funny that she made the point, because even this morning, someone said to me, can you ask them, this was before the show started, how they're going to curtail the number of Filipinos coming into Cayman? And I said, maybe who you need to ask that question of is the Caymanian business owners who are importing those Filipinos. Because those are your Caymanians as well. So how do you, this must be a question about a balancing act, but how do you balance interests, as this caller said, of so many different Caymanians? And unfortunately, most people are not thinking what's in the best interest of the majority. They're thinking what's in the best interest of me, myself, and my situation.
So I thank the caller for the question. And if you move into our objectives of identity, heritage, and culture, one of the points that we've made is to advance the development of a clear Caymanian identity advance the preservation, education, and promotion of Caymanian heritage and culture for this and future generations. So the growth of the island, which should not be dismissed as necessarily negative because it's given us success in many areas. But what has occurred in the meantime is there's been a fracturing of our identity and our preservation of our culture and our heritage. We'll have to bring that back and advance that clear Caymanian identity, which is clear when you step off the plane in other countries. That said, the challenge that the caller raised happens in every consultation. So if you take, for example, say the Older Persons Act, the older person's needs in the society may be completely different than the needs that we were balanced in the Children's Amendment. That's the job of the policymaker, to try to balance and reconcile those views and make provisions that take account of those views. It may not be exactly what everyone needs, but enough to keep the country moving forward. So that is the job of the policymaker. That will happen in every country. That won't be unique to Cayman. There'll be varied stakeholders with varied opinion on any piece of policy or legislation. It's the job of the policymaker, back to Mr. Warren's point, to have clear, transparent consultation, take on board and account of those views, and make the best balanced choice possible to continue the country thriving.
Okay. All right. We have another caller on the line. Caller, good morning. Question or comment as briefly as you can be. We do have other guests we're going to bring in as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning there.
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Listen, what I'm saying, and I don't care whether they disagree with me or not, I keep saying, I don't care how much status, commissary residence, or whatever you get for this island, you're not a Caymanian in my books. You are a paper holder. The Caymanians are the born and bred Caymanians. And when you come here and get papers, yes, you need to act decent and be a good citizen and don't go down the island and go down and stuff. And if you do anything wrong, get your packing and send you back to your native country where you were born. And I will die with that. I keep saying that. The born Caymanians are who born and bred here. I wasn't born here, but I have ancestors. My grandmother by mother's side were born here. My father my godfather born here, and I come up when I was 9 years old, and I am 70 years old now. But I'm not a Caymanian. I got status, I got naturalization, but my two kids are Caymanian. But if I come here and carry on the way that some come here and carry on, you know who I talk about, in disgracing the country and trying to fake Caymanians. If they say you can't come to their place, beat you, they need to be sent back. So I don't care what nobody say.
Okay.
You're a paper holder. That I disagree with that. Them immigration used to tell me years ago when you had to fill out form and stuff too, that you were traveling, when it's in nationality, I used to put Honduran. In fact, then you say, no, Shalma, you're a Caymanian. I say, I'm not a Caymanian because I wasn't born here.
All right. Thank you, my dear. Yeah, you know, nothing says that's a very...
What I would like to say, just on the tip of that, is that I think sometimes we only look at one side of talking about people that come here that abuse, but there are many ways of abusing, and there are people that abuse us at the higher echelons of society. They may not be cussing and beating and going on, as she referred to, but those people are the ones sometimes that is doing the most damage, because those are the people that are keeping our people down. It's better sometimes to get a beating than to be kept down. You understand? Because you'll heal from the beating. But when you can't make it in your own country because you're told you're not good enough, or those posts do not open up for you to get a chance to be trained or to be, to have a succession plan into a company, you cannot expect your people to get where they need to get. And this is why, sadly, we have to be dependent so much on immigrant labor. We need to break the cycle. We have to create the environment where our people succeed. And then immigration and people who come here will only be to work for us and supplement what we need in the workforce.
And
right.
work with us to shape
And
the
work
future,
with us.
to shape the future of the country together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
That's
And
the community.
I think that, if I could read just a few comments, Not says, what a very divisive woman, especially seeing that, she wasn't actually born here. That makes you Caymanian. What a silly person. Sarah says racist. We all come from somewhere. Elizabeth, who was a Caymanian and called earlier about how do we increase, she asked the question about how do we increase Caymanians having more children, says, I was not born here and my mother's from America. However, my father's a multi-generational Caymanian. I was raised here. I have status. I am Caymanian. This is my home. Listen, the problem with this type of discourse, and I really do take issue with it. The previous caller said, what is a Caymanian? This is a sort of thing that unfortunately divides us more than it separates us, because there are Caymanians who, there's no doubt. Do you say Kurt Tibbetts is not a Caymanian? Kurt Tibbetts wasn't born here. He was born in Jamaica for medical reasons. So we start to split hairs about what a Caymanian is and what a Caymanian looks like. And even amongst our own people, amongst Caymanians, you will have people say, well, you're not as Caymanian as me because I can go back 10 generations and you can only go back 5. Yeah. There becomes a point when it's absolutely, and I want to go on record to make myself as a Caymanian, yes, that was born here, multi-generational, I don't really care, to be honest. We divide ourselves too much, even as Caymanians. We need to find the common ground that unites us as people. And I can tell you one thing, I have seen expats come here, and some of them have adopted this country as their own, more so than some so-called born Caymanians. So let me just put that out there.
Give yourself a good
Sandra, that goes back to the point we made at the top of the show. Those are the individuals that also assisted with assimilating and building the country that you don't even think of that they were from someplace else. That's what we've gotten away from.
And those are the people that we want. We don't want the people who are just trying to, use us for that piece of paper and then discard Caymanians. So, of course, our radio listeners will know that at 9:30, my apologies, the radio does cut off, but we're going further into the show. Let's go ahead and invite Ms. Catherine Ebanks-Wilkes onto the program. Apologies for having you wait so long. People just, lots of questions and lots of comments and so forth. Yes. Hi, Kathy.
Sorry. Good morning, Sandra, and good morning, Cayman.
Good morning. Good morning. And we have over about 643 people watching on our social media streams. So, of course, our radio listeners, this is your time now to jump on. Hopefully you're at work and you've got, free Wi-Fi or whatever. You can jump onto the feeds and continue listening. I see the numbers keep going up. So I know you guys are definitely listening. Kathy, tell us a little bit. And you know what? I want to say this, and I see some of the comments even coming in about Aussie. I didn't get a chance to read them, but I do put all the comments on screen because I think right now, oh my gosh, I can't even count the number of comments we have, but it's a lot. And so what I would say, folks, is I may not get to read every comment. Keep in mind that this is not the only time that they will be on. So I know everybody's anxious to get their calls in, their comments in. I suspect that they will be coming on the program, focusing one day in education, another day in immigration reform, and we'll go, like I said, into deeper dive where these individuals stand on, these very important policy matters. So, Kathy, tell us a little bit about why you're with this group. And then I do have a question for Mr. Andre here in a second as well.
Well, Sandra, thank you for having me on this morning. And it is an honor for me to be here with my colleagues from the Caymanian Community Party. And in short, to answer the question, I decided to join along with my colleagues that I sat with in caucus and cabinet as we formed this party, because we're all aligned on, our objectives and values, and we see a way in which we can move forward in an organized fashion to get things done in our country and to put Caymanians first.
Mm-hmm. All right, very good. And we do have Miss Sabrina also waiting, but we're going to get to you. So there's some questions here that I think people are asking, and the show is called The Go Hard Truth for a reason. We don't shy away from the difficult questions. So one question that someone had, give me 1 second. Let me just see if I can find it again and tell you exactly what it is. But Andre, this question is directed at you. Where essentially someone has said, he, left Mr. Panton before, and now he's back. Can you tell us, everybody's aware of some of the details of how that went down, but tell us a little bit about how you came back together with Mr. Panton, why you decided to support the UPM government at the time and remove him as premier, because people want to know.
I never left Mr. Panton.
Okay.
I never left the government. We had a debate on the vote of no confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And the speech that I gave reflected the fact that I didn't find total agreement within myself of what both sides were saying. I could not agree with the opposition that nothing good had happened. We had an enormous challenge when we entered into government to reopen the country as COVID. And yes, it may seem like a distant memory now, but we walked into government with no plan to reopen the country. We had to construct a plan and then be able to reopen the country as safely as possible, which took an enormous amount of time. And there were other successes by then in financial services and other areas in financial assistance for social development. So I could not agree. But I also couldn't agree with our government bench's stance that everything was absolutely as strong as it could have been, because it wasn't. Mm-hmm. People at that time had seen on, there's no such thing as local news now, international news, the fray within the government.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to just abstain from the vote because I gave a speech that I thought gave a more clearer accounting of where we stood as an entire house.
Mm-hmm.
I remained with the government, and Mr. Panton decided, for a number of reasons, perhaps his position was not tenable, and resigned.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that in the middle of a term, it was appropriate for a government, particularly with our track record as a country, to melt down in the middle of a term. So for continuity, I stayed and would have stayed in whatever position the group then assembled would have wanted. And I was offered a particular post to take it for the sake of continuity, because we're not only on the local stage. You saw one of our objectives is international relations for the stability of the country. We'd always had a love and an affinity for each other. Even at the same time, we were not able to be on the same team. Once matters continued to escalate in the fashion that they did, and we decided and to have more of an up-close view of perhaps what he was dealing with and perhaps shielding some of us from, we began to then reconnect politically on the bench, but my heart as a friend was always with him.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you so much for that question. The answer, my apologies. Right. So more volume needed for Andre. So I think some people just have a naturally lower voice, but let's go ahead and bring Miss Sabrina in, and then we'll have everyone on the screen and we'll field some more questions. I know we're coming up on the 10 o'clock hour. Good morning to Sabrina Turner, MP for Prospect. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you. Recovering from the flu, but thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. So we've got all of the candidates I think are joining us today. I know a few were not able to make it or here listening to the program. We have our guests. So let's take a question. This one applies to everyone. This individual, let me just go back and find it. They want to know. They say, good morning, Sandy. I missed the first part of the show. Has anyone asked the TCCP's stance on working with controversial elected members, such as Mr. McKeeva Bush, if they were to all be reelected? I understand that they will have to honor the will of the electorate, but is there any way to manage how deeply persons with a marred character have leadership power? And they say again, good morning to all of your guests.
Are you hearing me a bit more? I tried to turn my mic up a bit.
Yes.
Sandra, is that better?
I mean, I've always heard you good. It's just other people, but yeah, you sound good to me. So hopefully.
Yeah, I thought that so. And I've heard some comments that say that it's coming across clearly. To reiterate, since the caller may have missed from the beginning, the team objective is to form the government outright. So yes, we've started with 7 because this was not born out of some Machiavellian move or power move. This was born out of people who have looked around and decided that there's a void in the country of concentrating on the community. We have started with an initial slate of 7, nominated me as the initial leader, and continue to build the team to work to win the government outright. I do not want the team to start off with a defeatist mindset that we'll have to be working with someone because this one or that one won't get in. I was told in February 2021 I would never be elected. Nobody knows. Let the campaign unfold and evolve and see the positions evolve. And then we would then be able, if the result happened, be able to see what the others stand for to find the best alignment if that eventually occurred. But our laser focus is to have a plea to the voters to continue to follow and see the vision and the policy proposals of what we have set forth so far and what we continue to set forth to put this country back on the right track, mend the community, not have a divisive community, as you mentioned in the last segment, and win the government outright.
So does that mean then that your ultimate goal is to have 19 people running?
Ultimate goal is to have enough to form the government.
To form the government. Okay. All right. So I see. All right. And you do have additional persons, we understand, that will be coming forward. It's just that they're in a predicament now where they're having to sort out resignations from work and arrange certain things that have to be done before they can publicly make a declaration.
In addition to that, we're making decisions as a team to see how they fit. I want to just add numbers for numbers' sake. Yes, they'll have practical arrangements that they'll have to conclude, but also to make a decision as a team. Are you aligned with the ideology? Because that would be the driving force. What's going to keep the team bonded? Because every administration hits turbulence. Strength of the bond and the trust between the team is what's going to allow it to overcome the turbulence and deliver real solutions for our people.
Okay. All right. Let me just see if we can grab a few more questions. Again, people are asking specifics about, how do you feel about implementing higher prison sentences? I think we'll get into some of, those specific details a bit more. I'm just having a quick perusal. Right. So someone's asking if you have any plans to have a representative for West Bay North.
At the moment, we are only launched with West Bay South and West Bay Central. West Bay North so far seems to be an interesting mix. To see how that emerges, to see if there's anyone that aligns with our grouping. We are watching a few individuals carefully, but we need to know more what some of them are about.
All right. Very good. Let's go back to some of the show questions. Sabrina, we have a question for you. Gabby was saying earlier, and I'm not sure where Gabby got that from, but I'll put the question to you because I've never heard it. But she was saying that she thought that you said you weren't running again. Have you said that anywhere?
No, I haven't.
Okay. All right, Gabby. So I'm not sure where that comment is coming from. I think it was, let me just go back here. I forgot who asked the question. Maybe Cassius was asking about the East-West, whether or not that would be supported by this group.
Yes, I don't think there's a member of the group that disagrees with it being implemented or built.
Okay.
I think certainly from my perspective, there has been an attempt to direct an accusation that I wasn't supportive. I have always supported it, and I've made that publicly very clear. And I think the same is true for all of us. what we have said, what I have said, and what we have said together in the past is it has to be done properly. We cannot. We have now had a disclosure that this road is projected to cost us $1 billion over the next 50 years. We don't want to add more to that by getting the construction of the road wrong and having to have major impacts on people's residences, their lives, their communities, by doing something that is incorrect. So the point of an EIA is to make sure, for example, that we get all this information and properly included in the decision-making process. We are there now because of the efforts of pounding the table to make sure this happened in the last 2.5 years. Right. Prior to that, there has never been a commitment by any administration and by by others who have been involved to actually doing this thing properly. If it was, we would have got it sorted out. We could have done 4 or 5 EIAs in the period of time that this has been kicking around.
Right. All right. Gareth, who seems to be new to the program, came in with a lot of comments and questions today. One question he asked is, who's financing the party?
We are taking the approach, and I've mentioned this to all the candidates, it's the same approach that I adopted, and I think many of them adopted in 2021. We are avoiding mega donors. We are going to good people in the community and going to set out bands in which they can afford to say, we want you to believe in us just because there's good governance. We're going to be looking to individuals in the community as we start our fundraising drive to believe in us and to be able to say, this may not be much, but that's okay. Every little bit counts. Because what we don't want is 3 to 4 mega donors that pay for everything. In my experience, and I experienced it very well, and I'm sure some of the other candidates did too, anytime I was in a meeting where that kind of money was thrown around, it came with conditions. I'm very happy to hear proposals if I'm in, if they're fit for the country, and you can present them then. But all we want is a set to pay expenses, which are high these days, but contribute to those just because you believe in good governance and you believe in the candidates, not for any express promise or condition to deliver anything. That will come when you're governing, and it should be done for a sound reason.
All right, caller, good morning. Question or comment today?
Good morning, Miss Sandra. This is Scott. I'm calling from Cayman.
Oh my goodness. Good morning. How are you?
Okay, Miss Sandra.
Happy New Year.
And same to you. And with the group that is on there,
yes,
I have one question for all of them.
Yes, ma'am.
I am familiar with everyone that's there. I think I'm old enough to be their mother. But one question I have for them this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
With all of their talk, they are just mentioning Caymans. They are not saying anything about Cayman Brac or Little Cayman.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one question. If they be elected, wouldn't Cayman Brac and Little Cayman be included to whatever they do for Grand Cayman?
And let me just remind them of how old you are. You're in your 80s, so you.
I will be 84 the 26th of next month.
Oh my gosh! Let me write it down now.
I am proud of my age. Up until yesterday, I was in my kitchen baking cakes. There's nobody but me that does that but me.
Wonderful. And you're going to be 86, you said?
84.
84. Oh, that is beautiful. So you and I have to talk anyway about some other stuff, but thank you.
Well, Miss Sandra, I will be at Grand Cayman tomorrow morning for a doctor appointment, and I'm going to try to see you.
Oh, my God. Can I see you? Oh, my gosh. Can I see you tomorrow?
Well, I will be there on the first time tomorrow morning, and my doctor appointment is 1 o'clock, so I would love very much to run into you. I'll give you a call when I reach
Thank
there.
you. Thank you so much. I will clear my schedule to see you. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the question as well.
Sunday.
Okay.
All right.
So, Sandra, thank you, ma'am, for the question. Sandra, can you follow my answer with a kaboom? I don't think any of us have specifically mentioned Grand Cayman. We've talked about Caymanians, which is all of us in our 3 beautiful islands. So the answer to the question is a resounding yes.
Yes.
All right. No Caymanian left behind.
Whether you're from the Point, the Rock, Steak Bay, Watering Place, Spot Bay, or Little Cayman, our sister islands are a part of who we are in this country. So there's no exclusion going on.
None.
We're there for everybody.
But it also raises on a serious note. Well, being serious now, but even more serious note, and Ozzy will have experienced this as a former social development minister, the challenges can be very different.
Yeah.
The population can be very different. So taking multiple trips to the sister islands while being the social development minister, you can't cut the policy as if it's just going to be in Grand Cayman, because the social development issues are quite different in our sister islands.
Yes, that's very true.
That has to be an inclusive approach.
And this is true in Grand Cayman as well, but we have certain areas within Grand Cayman that have different challenges than others. So, we have to have an approach which identifies and addresses the concerns in various areas in the country.
Yes. Very good.
I was saying, just for the avoidance of doubt, and thanking that dear lady, and I hope she has safe travel here tomorrow. We, especially Minister Panton and I, love the sister islands. Right? We own property there. We love. I don't know. Some people say, "Oh, they don't like Cayman Brac. They're too boring. Like little Cayman." Oh my God! When I get there, stress leaves my body. I love those places. I want to see them developed in the right way. Little Cayman preserved as much as possible. And when we say Cayman, just for the avoidance of doubt going forward, when we say Cayman, that is the 3 islands.
Very good. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Miss Sandra. How are you?
Good morning, dear. Not bad. How you doing?
Good. Just tuning in.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to ask a quick question. As a single mother, Caymanian, born and raised, what do they plan to do with housing? I mean, as a mother, working all my life here from I was 16 years old, I have totally given up on a future in Cayman. And it's sad. It's sad as a mother trying to get her 3 kids through school, trying to put a roof over their head, food in their mouth, that I will never see myself owning a house and be able to go home with my kids and say, okay, this is your home. It's frustrating. It's sad. What do they plan to do?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Thank you, caller, for an extremely timely and urgent question. And it allows us to reiterate our initial priorities. Addressing the cost of living, which includes housing. I'll come back specifically to her question. Immigration reform, education and workforce development, and a vision of a plan for sustainable development in the country, which then ties back into housing. As we do not have that plan, and as you heard it last election, it still hasn't been done, plan the country appropriately so that you decide where there will be affordable housing with government assistance. You decide there could potentially be greater building outs. You decide what's going to be the cultural areas. And then you have a set of programs, and it's not pie in the sky because it's being done by neighboring countries, it's being done in the UK to get your own citizens onto the property ladder. We have to be laser focused on this because there are Caymanians who've done everything we've asked them to do and cannot get onto the property ladder. Even now, I have an unanswered PQ because we had a motion in the House of how we're going to, as a small part of it, how we're going to modify stamp duty rules now for the first Caymanian buyer, because the prices are still so astronomical that the waiver doesn't assist in any cases. that still remains unanswered as to how we're going to incentivize some of our Caymanians trying to close on property might finally be able to afford the land, but then can't afford the stamp duty because it's out of whack. We have all those little ways and different bands of how we're going to help people get onto the property ladder in this country. That would be one of our top priorities, because trust me, it affects Kathy's kids, it affects Wayne's kids, it affects my kids, it affects all of our kids. What will we leave behind for them if we don't tackle into that issue straight away?
Yeah, for sure. And, I'm fortunate to that caller. I want to encourage her and reach out, because I think all Caymanians have to be part of the solution, not just the elected officials. There's only 19 of them, and there's only a smaller group that make up cabinet. We can, there are those of you who might be listening to the program who have financial management experience. Reach out, caller, so that we can maybe put you in contact with other community members who can be mentors, who can give you advice. I wasn't a single mother, because my one thing was, listen, I can't have kids if I can't afford them, and so I purposely, as someone who came from a large family of 8 children, I knew what having that many children, the burden that put on single mothers, on even people who had 2 incomes in a household. Your parents were having to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. And families were separated because of that. That was the reason why my dad made the decision to send me overseas, because, your chances of getting a better education, of living in a more stable home environment without chaos, and also just financially better off, have increased substantially. And that was and I just wanted, let me just say this from a personal perspective. When the caller called in earlier and said, right now in Cayman, single mothers can hardly make ends meet and all this sort of thing, I thought to myself, and I messaged her personally on Facebook, and I said, that's always been her story. Let's not, maybe you haven't thought about it much and put it in context, but my mother, who's in her 80s, for a good part of her life was a single mother. She might have made poor decisions about husbands that then ran back to Jamaica and left, and the other one, all sorts of complicated family dynamics. But our story of growing up poor, even Mr. Panton, I was shocked when he was telling me in his home, he's just a little bit older than me, but, staying with grandma and having the corn hanging in the house, and that's how you dry in the corn. And I'm thinking, Mr. Panton, what do you know about poverty? And he's like, are you kidding? This is the story of us as a people. And it also speaks to our resilience. That's why our seamen had to go elsewhere. That's why we have a history of turtling, because there were not job opportunities here. They went to other people's countries and took advantage of opportunities legally and lawfully, yes, but our people had to do that, So I think a lot of times we forget from whence we have come. We have forgotten our history. We think that our history has always been about prosperity of the 80s and the 90s that we enjoyed. No, I remember going to bed with nothing in my stomach, right? I remember getting very, very little. I remember my mother leaving Cayman for years to go to Canada to try to find a job as a domestic worker to be able to send money back home, right? And so, I remember my siblings were separated and torn apart because some had to go live with grandma because, again, my mother could not raise 8 children on her own. And that has created a lot of very complex issues, family dynamics, and whatever. We have to do better. On a personal level, we need to make better decisions, right? So I just want to say that from my part, one of the reasons why I was not going to have 4, 5, 6, or 8 children is because I came from that situation and I knew the detrimental impact that can have on a family. Having said that, young lady, reach out to us because there are things that we can do. When I first got my little apartment, I remember it so well. I'm thinking it's crazy in Cayman trying to pay rent. Even back then, right? I went to the bank. They said, you only qualify for X. I went back to the homeowner. I said, listen, we don't qualify for this full amount. Yes, I already have a first degree. I'm trying to work hard. I was at the time, starting a job in a law firm, trying to get my law degree, and I still didn't qualify. But you know what I did? I spoke to that homeowner. They said, we want to help you. As one Caymanian to the next, right? If you can make the payments, we're going to do a separate contract with you where on the one hand, you get your mortgage and then we will self-finance the balance of it. As long as you pay us this amount and whatever. And that's the things that we did. So our story, you look at someone now and you think, oh yeah, they made it in life and they've always had money and this and that. You need to know that we all came from some degree of struggle for the most part, most of us. And we understand your plight, young lady. We know what it's like to think, oh my God, I'm never going to get a home. And that didn't just happen last week or 4 years ago. This has been something for many, many years. One of the reasons why I do the Cayman Voices series is for us to remember the struggle of our people. So when I sit down and hear a John Douglas, for example, who is well into his 80s, he might even be 90 now, talk about the fact that when he went off to sea at a very, very young age, every single paycheck, he would send a little bit of money home. And he was sending that to a well-respected member in his community in Northside. That man saved up his money for him because he didn't know how to do that himself. And when he had enough, he said, okay, do I have enough to start with a little foundation? The guy said, yes. And, I'm going to help you. We're going to get some people in the community to go. So this community, love and caring for each other, I think that if we could bring some of that back and be more willing to assist, and we all have different skill levels. I had a young lady call me this week about a situation where, unfortunately, she's in a domestically abusive situation. She called about losing her job because of that. I reached out to her employer and I gave them more information that maybe they didn't have. And I said, her former employer, and I said, please reconsider your position because I don't think you had the full, information here in terms of what transpired. And now she is in a predicament where she's likely to lose her home. She's not originally from Cayman. She's from Honduras, but you know what? She's one of us now. She's got Caymanian children. She's got a Caymanian soon-to-be ex-husband, but whatever. So we have got to be willing wherever we can as individuals in this community, if you say that you're a Caymanian, to help your fellow Caymanian. Right. Sometimes it's just advice, it's guidance. It's like, okay, for financial soundness, these are the things that you need to do. This is what you should be focusing on.
No, don't say I don't know. Sounds like you do know. If I can make one point which goes to more the substance of what the last caller was talking about, and not just in terms of housing, but how she can participate.
Yes.
One of the pillars of the party, a diverse set of individuals, a balance of women that wants to incorporate the community. So as we launch, we're creating a movement to take your feedback to help shape the policy. And this isn't pie in the sky. I can give you a real example. Mm-hmm. Remember that from the prior administration, there was the stipend for tourism workers. As this administration came in, we had a plea from the business owners who are middle class to say, well, wait a second, but my assets are depreciating because the borders aren't reopening. That wasn't board ministry, that wasn't out of a boardroom. That was tour boat operators coming to the West Bay South office and delivering that idea. It was then formulated in policy. And I remember going to Wayne when he was mayor. He said, look, the only place in your budget that you can pull from is the overseas. So you're also the financial services minister. Take a hit. But at the end of the day, tough decisions had to be made because those folks were about to lose their assets.
Yes.
So what's the point of the overseas offices bragging if the country is failing? And in the end, we were still able to then have more money in the budget, in a future budget, to still get the overseas offices going. The idea was born from listening to the community, delivering that help, prioritizing with a tough decision, which it did take flack for, but then be able to recoup in the long run.
Yep. We've got 2 callers on the line. Denny, you're up first.
I just want to recommend to the community party that the best way to help the community financially is, I think we need to put civic and financial literacy as core subjects in our education system. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Denny. Without a doubt. Next caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, honey child.
Good morning. I thought you were coming for those plantains. Excuse me, miss.
I forgot.
From my garden. Don't make them go to waste now, you know.
I come in.
Some people not included on the plantain list, or what?
Listen, I'm not eating any right now because I'm watching my diet. So I told her, please come and take what she wanted. But yes, we got a few plantains there off the tree.
Yeah, I saw the photo. Good morning, MC Panson.
Good morning,
Mr. Ebanks, Miss Turner, and
Mr. Ozzy and Miss Wilkes.
Oh, my favorite, the one. I love you, Ozzy. I love you to death. I'm so sorry that I know we can't share you in all the places, but you're doing an awesome job at the hospital. And I'm from West Bay. Everybody, in case I forgot. But let's talk real Caymanian now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get down to the real nitty-gritty of Caymanian. All right, you all know that I am very passionate about our seniors and getting our seniors to come out to come and socialize and just to make them happy. We are in need, have been in need of a center for our seniors, and we have been granted permission at the TE Field Center, but that we're cut to we're bound to certain things that we can't do. We have our seniors come out on Mondays and Thursdays, and the reason for that was they wanted to be able to do things for the community, for younger generations. We wanted to be able to be here to cook and to bake, to teach our younger generations how to bake and have cakes and how to do our traditional dishes. We solicit for stoves and we appeal for stoves. We advocate for stoves. The new stoves, we got 2 new brand stoves and put into TE Field Center. And our seniors are being limited. They cannot fulfill their dreams of cooking and teaching our younger generation to cook. In my opinion, this is a government-owned place. This is a community. What is a community center? Why are our community centers locked down to 1 or 2 people? It is a community. 1 or 2 people do not make community. I am sorry. And it's a center. We should be able to use it once we schedule for it. You understand? Look at the Bodden Town Center. It's locked down to 1 person. You understand? I mean, come on, guys. We need more. We need to be looked after, looked for our Caymanians, our grassroots. And we're here advocating for the people who actually built these islands, and they're being limited. Come on.
Yes.
We need some help. We need help for our seniors. Our seniors should be one of our top priorities. And we can't have it.
Yes. Thank you, caller.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right. So again, going back to what the caller said, different types of Caymanians out there in need. Kathy and Miss Sabrina, any comments and thoughts from the two of you?
Well, just to add to what the caller said, I mean, I totally agree with her as it relates to a need for a facility for our seniors. One of the focuses that we've had here in the West Bay Central Constituency Office is just that, because we find that seniors in West Bay, they want to get out, and we have been limited with facilities. So thank God the churches have been, very open with allowing us to use the church halls, and we do a lot of activities outside of the district. Actually, just before the holidays, we went for a road trip to East End and got fried fish. And but just wanted to reiterate what the caller was saying, that yes, I agree. It is something that needs to be prioritized, is ensuring that our seniors are not just stuck at home and, not out getting the exposure that they need.
Yes. Ms. Sabrina, anything on your prospect initiatives with the seniors?
In regards to that, I share the same sentiments of needing access to facilities. We are very limited to only the Seafarers Hall. We have the Moravian Church, who once you approach them, but they are an NGO themselves. They have facilities as well, but overall, nationally, we really need to do a better job with our seniors and tie that in with our young adults and teens as well. Because
Absolutely.
that's where you understand and you're talking about we're losing who we are, the foundation of who we are as a people. That will be lost if we do not teach that to those, our future that is coming up. We are a close-knit community, again, with technology and the WhatsApp community groups. Being on the ground and people visiting your neighbors door to door, a lot of these seniors are lonely. They are crying out just for a conversation. Many of them are waiting for the Meals on Wheels, not even looking forward for the food, but the engagement, the interaction. And we can do a much better job as a country, as a people, as neighbors, in making sure that they are not at all forgotten. But that's a responsibility on even us as children. And but nationally, I agree. Better access is needed. We have schools in every district, in some cases in certain constituencies, based on how it's broken up. If we can just get that and we can handle and use these places responsibly, more can be done to bring together families and young adults and teens.
Absolutely. Caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Once upon a time, in the Cayman Islands, there existed a housing scheme for Caymanians called the GGM. And somebody find that textbook, pull it off the shelf, and get that going again. I don't know why it stopped. From what I understand, it's no longer in effect. And I think that helps many Caymanians, first-time owners, to get home. And I don't know what the hold-up is. Some education on that to the public would be good. And when can it happen again? We already have the foundation for it. Let's get it going. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. So when we talk about housing, we definitely need to get into the National Housing Trust and what is happening with that organization. I don't know if they have a new leader that has been put in place since Mr. Ramos left. But yeah, I mean, there's a number of different initiatives and programs. We do have the affordable housing, which continues. The ones in West Bay, finally, after significant delays, I think that some of those families were able to move in the last month or so. But yeah, GGHAM was another program that fell under National Housing Trust. Do we have any idea what has happened to that program?
Sandra, I'm sure maybe one of my other colleagues can chime in, but I'm pretty sure that was recently rebranded to the acronym, the HOME program. And as far as I know, it was rolled out probably in the middle of the term. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's active right now, but I know that the minister had worked on it and he had made an announcement that it was rebranded. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it was rebranded rather than GGHAM. It's now referred to as the HOME program. Can either of you all recall that?
No, I recall the rebranding, and I think maybe the internal difficulties within the Housing Trust may have stymied its launch. But I do remember it being rebranded and repurposed. Okay. But the overall aim of it was, if not identical, quite similar to the GGHAM program.
Yeah. And of course, the fact that the public don't seem to be aware of it goes back to one of my issues with government communications arm. And of course, this is more the civil servant than anything else. But, ministers need to pay attention. And I hope that, you guys are intent on trying to form the government, that you understand how important it is to get messaging out to the public so that even when you are doing things, if the public doesn't know anything about it, you might as well not even be doing it, to be honest, in a way. Malachi says, Mr. Bodden, even though I'm a civil servant, and will probably get heat for sharing this, but I can't help but to say how much, Mr. Bodden, I feel your genuine passion for the young people going to school overseas and who may not return home. We had Miss Debbie, who says that she's going to vote for all of you She says that I am voting for everyone in this group. I move from district to district, laughing out loud. Miss Sue joined her sentiment and said, yep, I'm right behind you. El Rey says, what is this group's stance on cruise port piers, and what will it cost the country, and over what period of time will we have to pay off the loan?
So that goes back to the question. Well, I think I introduced this point in one of the earlier hours, that we haven't seen a plan from the Ministry of Tourism to decide where is the policy work and the vision as to where this should go. Will it be in a location that's environmentally sound, and how much will it cost? That work has not been done, and all that we're left with is a incomplete or deficient referendum question.
All right.
That needs to be done.
Yes. This person says this housing scheme situation is a joke. They need to speak more about this and the internal issues that we, the Caymanians, are facing. So this perhaps really begs the question of, you've got the civil servant arm of government, and you've got organizations like the National Housing Trust. Seems like they've had some leadership changes. There's been a lot of rumors swirling around why that leadership change occurred. I can tell you guys, and perhaps dispel some of the rumors that are out there, it had nothing to do with any sort of dishonesty or anything like that. What I was essentially told is that they had not had any audited financials or any financials since 2016. So he didn't, they said that the leader didn't have any audits done since 2016. And they found that that was a glaring, misstep. And so essentially he was given the opportunity to resign. But having said that, when you have organizations like the National Housing Trust, where you've got a board and you've got things put in place that are not working optimally, and this goes to a question that I saw someone ask, I can't remember now. Your question was basically to say, what steps are you going to take to put board members in place who are qualified and who are just not political appointees? And this also impacts how organizations and whether it's the port or other things are actually being ran and operated.
I'll give you a live proof point again, so it doesn't sound like pie in the sky. When the Financial Assistance Act, which is the landmark welfare legislation, was passed, it has an appeals tribunal. The approach we outlined in the Ministry of Social Development was to say, let's do this differently. We sent out, as if it was a job ad, explaining the tribunal's role, the qualifications that are required in the law for each of the particular members, and let's see who applies to that. I, as minister, will be completely removed from it. You all, as a civil service, conduct the interviews as if you're hiring someone. You then come back to me with the report of who the top selected candidates were in each of the qualifying areas of what we needed on the tribunal, and I take it to cabinet, and it was approved. So that way, it wasn't myself as minister cherry picking who I thought might be good or good not. It went through a methodical process, and not a name was changed when it went to cabinet, because we had that solid research of who was qualified to dispose of the issues that tribunal shall face.
Okay. All right. 936-2626 is the telephone number. And someone is asking whether or not you have anyone for Georgetown North.
Not at the moment.
Okay. All right. Another listener to the program says, thank you for doing this. Good morning. Bless you and your family. If you don't mind, I'd like to express myself. We need real issues to be addressed. We need to hear their agenda and how these issues will be addressed moving forward. They've listed a long list of things, which I will screenshot. And for those of you who are wondering if your question doesn't make it, I am screenshotting them and providing them to the party so that at least on another date, they can get to those respective questions. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
My question.
Yes, ma'am.
They keep building these individual homes instead of putting in an apartment complex where you would house a lot more people, and it would be more affordable for the people.
Okay, thank you very much. So this goes to the question of what sort of housing options she's suggesting, maybe apartment complexes. Now, the housing committee that was put together would have looked at all of these things, but that report is where?
So, Sandra, we this is an issue that we've all been committed to, and back in, I think it was early 23, a housing task force was set up, which was an interministerial housing task force, which had many of the senior members of the civil service engaged in it, and they came up with 27 different recommendations, which ultimately became part of a report to cabinet, and it was designed to recognize all of the various components of the problem. So there was supply issues, there was financing issues, there was demand issues, and it included the question of do we have smaller properties with single family homes, or do we have multi-level multi-home facilities? All of these things are what's needed. I mean, I had people visiting me yesterday in my constituency office talking about the fact that they'd be happy to do that. So this was all presented to cabinet back in just before I left. I don't know why. I don't know whatever happened with it. I don't know if any of my colleagues can share, but my understanding was that the new premier at the time didn't bother to proceed with any of those recommendations, those 27 recommendations. But that is something that we as a group are going to be committed to. And I know the ladies on here are going to be committed to the issues around single family, single parent, particularly young Caymanian mothers who have children who need housing. And those are issues that they're concerned about. I know Kathy has a program she's been pushing for several years now to get the Apple Blossom program moving along to redo those houses in there. I think the recommendation, and Kathy, you'll have to remind me, but whether that was going to be single as well as multi-story housing. But I know that's something you were concerned about, and I know, Sabrina, we all share the same thing. And the ladies, we have a very diverse group here with a very distinct gender, probably a heavier female gender focus, and that's wonderful for us. Ozzy and myself and Audrey don't mind being, for the time being, the minority in the group.
But I think you should probably let, because it is an important issue.
Yeah,
for Kathy to jump in on Apple Blossom. It's a very important issue that's near and dear to her.
Thank you. Yes, very near and dear. And I did ask about it in our last sitting of Parliament, and really didn't get a definitive answer on when the minister would be able to start the construction. But he did say that they were working on it and they'd had a few roadblocks, but the hope was to start the construction as soon as possible. And not just is it a housing issue every district is facing that, right? But this particular development, the homes that are there are not fit for purpose. These homes have mold, and there's a lot of the residents in that area that have actually fallen ill because of having to live in these, I call it mold infested, but just homes that are not really fit for purpose. So that has been something that I have been championing and, trying to advocate for, continuing to ask the minister, even though I'm no longer part of the government, continuing to just keep on top of it. And just to add to what was said earlier about the composition of, this party, that is the benefit that having, a a large amount of women is that we can focus and raise concerns relating to women and families, and certainly housing is at the very top of the list, as well as cost of living.
Very good. Thank you so much. So Blackberry says we need to see and hear from the women of the party more. Back in 2020, there was much public outrage after the assault incident at Coral Beach, but the public heard nothing from the women in Parliament. We need to know that we're supported by you, and we need to hear that publicly.
I don't think anybody would, as speaking for me, I definitely am. I have always been a vocal person in regards to that, but understanding the complexities of that particular subject matter, it was an active investigation, but where support is concerned in standing up for what was right for women, one of the big things, having sat in National Security Council, supported by some of my colleagues, that whole thing where we had that spot where women going out early in the morning, walking and jogging, and they were fearful. They wanted to be able to carry pepper spray and all that sort of stuff. This has been broad discussions from even before getting into elected office that, being there as a strong woman force. And we heard the cries where they wanted more female representation was one of the foundations in which got me interested and pushed me to run for political office. That has not dwindled by any shape or form. Sitting around that table, especially in National Security Council, you were actually outnumbered sometimes with my stance on what we need to do to give that false sense of security. But also coming from a data-driven approach, understanding and looking at it, the whole 360 of what that meant with legalizing, being able to carry pepper spray and that sort of stuff. We had to come from an informed position in regards to reaching that point. So we're hearing a lot more from your female elected representatives, and galvanizing that women group again are fundamental things with this party that we're talking about. You will see a more presence from us where we're actually put our words to actions and show that we mean what we say.
Absolutely.
Can I just add to that really quickly as well? I know we're short on time, but just to elaborate a bit more in terms of the way in which the party has been structured is we do have a women's arm. So again, coming from the grassroots up, women will not only have an opportunity to express their concerns through the female MPs, but also they will also be able to participate through the party as members of the women group.
Okay.
Perhaps former Minister Kathy, you could explain your passion behind the anti-sexual harassment bill that has finally been published without any fanfare from the current government, and by my count, outside of the 28 days consultation. But Kathy, let it rip, because you have been very vocal behind the scenes. I think the public should see that passion that you have to bring that bill over the line.
Well, thank you. I mean, for me, I'm really happy to see that it has been approved by Cabinet and that it has been gazetted for public consultation. And goes without saying, I know I've said it before publicly, but this is a piece of legislation that is very important in our country, not just for women, but for men as well. And it is a law that sets the standards for what is practice and behavior that we see as acceptable. And in the absence of having that, we find that we'll run into a lot of situations. So I am really delighted, and to the point that you raised, Andre, it's really surprising that the government hasn't said anything at all about the bill being published. And I'm trying to understand what their rationale is for publishing it late. And there is a constitutional requirement of 28 days public consultation, which they will not have met for this next sitting of Parliament. So just trying to understand what the plan is. To my knowledge, this will probably be the last sitting of Parliament before we go into the election period. So it is quite concerning that knowing that the bill was ready from, as you all know, my colleagues know, the bill was ready from the time we left the government. I brought it that last night of caucus to take to cabinet the following day. So I'm just really frustrated that for a piece of legislation that is that important to have been sit on, I'd really like to hear from the government on what their intention is, having published it late, and we have the women's group, what's it called, the Business Professional Women's Club, Miss Annie Moulton, that has been working on getting this legislation passed for decades. And then, I know that Mr. Panton was a former minister that brought the paper to have drafting instructions and took it out for public consultation. But also importantly, our youth arm, our youth parliamentarians, and that's what I was most excited about, is to give our young people hope that government actually listens to what they advocate for, because this was a bill that our youth parliamentarians actually drafted and debated at one of the youth parliaments. So I don't want to get off on a rant, but it is very frustrating to know that the bill has been published, yes, but it's published too late for this next sitting of Parliament. So I'm sure the public will also want to know what the plan is that the government has for it.
Yep. So, one of the questions is going to be, one of the question that exists right now is, does the Premier have the intention of certifying it for short notice so that it could come on the agenda for the next meeting of Parliament?
All right.
Silence.
Wow. Yes. Some good questions still coming in here this morning. Now, there's a question really about code of conduct. And will you have a code of conduct for, your government, and even at a party level, do you or will you have a code of conduct?
So all of the members who are active in this administration all agreed to a parliamentary code of conduct. That's already in place. There will also be, in addition to that, within this party, a party pledge of our conduct, primarily based on the Nolan principles of public life. So the answer to the question is left the yes on two levels, on parliamentary level and on a party level.
Yeah.
All right. So quite a few women here wanting the sexual harassment bill to obviously be fully advanced. Ms. Pat said violence against women and children, increase in mental health issues also need to be addressed. Darlene says, I hope the sexual harassment bill goes forth and be enforced on the untouchable, sitting up high in positions, starting with all government departments, authorities, and entities, and elected officials too. Let's not forget them, Darlene, because some of them are historical offenders. Just a few more, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here, folks. We know that a lot of you wanted to get questions and comments in. Jermaine says, Sabrina Turner, hands up. What's that little emoji called? The little strong arm emoji. Strong and raw, kaboom. We have someone earlier who was asking about Cayman Brack. When that call came in, says, are you going to get rid of Juju and the Brack garrison that she runs? Maybe we'll just leave that as a comment. There was hold on one second now. Let me just see. I think I asked this question. Oh, yes. Does the TCCP support any particular candidate outside of their party that is running for West Bay North? That being Bernie Bush, Ralston Anglin, and or Jordan Ebanks. And of course, more people may be coming out as well.
And I think I answered that earlier.
Yeah.
We're watching as that constituency develops, because there could be more.
Yeah. Okay. All right, folks. Sorry if I didn't get to all of your questions, but be mindful that, obviously they'll be back. This is not a one-off situation. You'll have an opportunity to speak with all of them further. And as the group expands, you also have an opportunity to engage with and speak with any new members that might be coming on. Somebody asked why Miss Heather wasn't here. And I do know that I was told in advance that she had sent her apologies because she was working heavily in the constituency office last night into the late hours trying to get people registered at the last minute to vote. Yesterday was the deadline. If you missed the opportunity, folks, to get registered, sorry, you've missed your chance. I think the elections office did a pretty good job this time around of encouraging everyone with their campaigns to get out and vote. They came on the program twice, answered a lot of useful questions. Oh, speaking of them, they do have an answer to Mr. McField's question. Hold on. So I sent this to the government representative to ask Mr. Howell. And so the question was more or less about parties on the ballot. How will someone know if they're, voting for the party? So keep in mind, single member constituencies, one man, one vote means that you're voting for an individual person. But at the same time, the response was that the ballots do have the party logo alongside the name of the candidate for party candidates. So, if the person's an individual, then obviously they wouldn't have any logo next to their name. It would just be their name. So if they're part of a party, just for the sake of clarification, and I'm sure Mr. Howell will come on the program and kind of maybe show us a sample of what it might look like. They'll have the name of the candidates next to, the name of the candidates, and then next to that, the logo for this specific party. Now, someone asked about your logo. Perhaps I can just throw this question out there. They're saying that the logo looks like, which somebody says, no, that's not it. But they were saying that the logo looks like the Mexican sign for, what did he say? Why are you using the Casa Amigo tequila brand for the logo? Just to clarify, let me just pull back. The logo is that logo at the top right-hand corner, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell us about the logo. Perhaps we can learn something about the logo.
Well, we certainly did not think of tequila or we're drinking tequila when we created the logo. So I don't know if there's some odd coincidence, but it's because we are the Caymanian Community Party. We wanted a logo that reflected Caymanian in terms of typical colors, silver thatch palm, the anchor, the stars, everything about that roots us as Caymanians.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the 3 stars representing all 3 islands. You've got the thatch. You actually have the rope coming down from the thatch.
Right. That's not just a trunk. That is
rope.
That is signifying the thatch rope that we have, have been a part of our industry for many, many years and utilized by our people in many different ways. Not just rope, of course, all of our thatch products. And by the way, that is the most sustainable product that Cayman has ever engaged in, because you're not killing the tree. You're taking the new leaves out and utilizing them. So something to be proud of and a beautiful part of our tradition and history.
And then the anchor as well.
Seafaring heritage.
Seafaring heritage.
All right, Ms. Pat said, we the people have set the bar high this go round. Come ready. V the money man had a little chuckle at that one, I think, about the tequila. Julian has a question. I'd like to know if you're taking questions from here. So yeah, the show is almost over, Julian. You kind of came late and we had tons of questions and tons of answers. So we'll definitely advise you of when they will be coming back onto the program. So interested in finding out more about the Caymanian Community Party, go ahead and tell us how people can, visit your website, social media channels, and so on.
So if you head to the website, which you have posted there now, votetccp.ky, you have information on the links of how to contact us. Each of us have constituency offices. I'm sure that I already have been contacted through mine. Same will go for the members in relation to Mr. Osborne Bodden. He will then join in the office of the community office that is on Savannah. And then Ms. Emily DeCool will then couple into the prospect office, because one of the items that we have in our constitution is the joining of constituency offices in a district as we continue to advance and have the party evolve.
Okay. And do you have a separate party office, or are you guys working out of your respective constituency offices?
Mainly for starters, working in terms of contact with people in our offices. We have a meeting place, but as we advance the party, we'll be having a party headquarters.
Okay. And people are asking about things like, when are you going to have your first public meeting and all these other things. We'll be getting an agenda here shortly so that people are aware of public meetings, individual meetings, I suppose, for the individual candidates and so on as well.
So we'll have a timeline of a range of meetings, either smaller gatherings, yard meetings, then district meetings, and national meetings.
All right, very good. Okay, folks. So some other members didn't make it today, but obviously these members are here. Can you give out contact details, where your offices are located, your office phone numbers, and how people can reach you?
Yes, we'll send that to you so that you can post that as well. We'll do some posting ourselves.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. I know we went into a little bit of overtime, but the numbers were strong. And obviously people had a lot of questions, a lot of phone calls. Folks, I encourage you, we're full on into the election cycle. I encourage you to ask the tough questions, to get to know the candidates, speak to them one-on-one, listen carefully to what they have to say, make sure that they have got solid proposals that they're bringing to the people of the Cayman Islands, not just, sound bites. This is really now, we're going to go into the April 30th election. It's time for the people to get to the polls and try to put in a government that will be all about the people's business and really try to get things done. So I want to thank all of the members, folks, of this organization. Again, it is the Caymanian Community Party. That is the name of their organization. TCCP. You can visit their website, votetccp.ky. And of course, we will post all of the social media handles and contact information for these individuals. More people will be coming on as part of the group in the coming weeks and months leading up to the election. So ask your questions, get to know, if you don't know who's running in your respected area, please get to know these individuals. So we have Mellow Fellow says, good morning, Ms. Sandy and the TCCP team. Please ask Mr. Bodden what went into the decision to run in Bordentown West instead of Bordentown East, where he previously ran.
You want me to answer that?
Sure.
Well, I ran twice. I've never been elected on the one man, one vote. And I ran twice in Bordentown East against the incumbent. In 2017, I lost. And in 2021, I lost by a bigger margin. I think as a prudent thinking businessman, I don't think that was headed in the right direction. I don't think that people in that area appreciate what I was offering, and they are quite content with the incumbent until there's someone else that they see that they would gravitate more to. I cannot force them to elect me. So after giving 2 good shots, and there were 2 good shots, I was not successful, and I don't think that was something that I wanted to do a third time. And in hand with that, I was being persuaded and asked to represent Bordentown West, where when we had the national or the full district slate was an area that I always polled strongly in. So if I was going to do it, I was going to do it in Bordentown West, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm happy to be here with that opportunity to represent the people of Bordentown West. I believe that they see me as someone that will work hard for them, be accessible to them. And as a result, I've started off immediately. There's no office in Bordentown West now for the incumbent for 8 years, at least not a visible, accessible, easily accessible office. I've heard about an office in a family member's home or whatever, but the constituency complain. They go to the east, they come to Savannah, they're looking for somebody to help them, and they can't reach the member. So I am immediately, right off the hoof, will be available on certain days in the Savannah office, and if I'm not there, then we have staff there that will be able to take calls and take messages for me that I can reach those people when the time comes. So I took very seriously, because we've always, in the past when I was elected, we always manned our constituency offices and had our set times and our appointments with our constituents. How else can you you can't get to every home all the time. You have to have a situation where people can come to you, and therefore I'm doing that right off the bat. So that's the answer where I'm in Bontown West, and I'm looking forward to it. It's you know, I think that, Sandy, one thing that we have to avoid in this country is our people doing what we did way back when our generation came along. Our people had to leave home to make a living and take care and grow these islands. We do not want the cycle to reverse, and where we have built the Cayman Islands on the hard work of those individuals and those that stayed at home to take care of home. We do not want that to reverse to the point where we have had this success period, so-called success period, and now we are turning around and saying our kids, and not just our kids, but adults, are looking to live and retire elsewhere. We have to create a Cayman Islands that we can strive and survive in. And that's why Oz is back in the race to fight for that. I don't have all the answers, but I have a good team, a diverse team around me. These people bring different strengths, and we have, we have socioeconomic differences, we have gender differences, and I think it's a really, for just 7 of us at the moment, it's a strong team, and I think we're going to be building that into an even stronger unit that will compete effectively on April 30th for the national slate, and then we see where it all pans out after that. But I'm looking forward to this. I was in between two minds as to whether to go at it again, and of course I've said that, and people, because my heart is always community minded, it's hard for me to say no when I get enough pressure on me. And you also don't want to be sitting down in your rocking chair or in one of these days thinking, boy, that happened on your shift, you could have made a difference. And I have to face my kids and my grandkids, and I want to make sure that I can look them in the eye and say, I did my best, I tried.
All right, thank you very much. Question coming in from multiple people on this front. Please, can they please find someone decent to join them who will run against John and BTE? Begging. So, I'm in BT West myself, and I can tell you that we welcome an alternative to what we have there now, honey child. So thank you, Ozzy, for stepping up and at least offering that option. So yes, again, some questions have already been asked and answered. Mellow Fellow, that question about having someone in every single constituency has been addressed. So go back, hit the rewind button. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here now. So again, I just want to thank the party. Again, the name of the party, their contact details, the Caymanian Community Party. Vote TCCP.ky is the website, and you can follow them on social media as well. But thank you guys so much for coming on the program. I always tell candidates, this is not anything that's easy. Nobody's promising you an easy ride into Parliament, but you have to be straightforward. You have to, take these issues on and talk to the people directly. And I think that has certainly been done here today.
Thank you, Sandra. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
For some reason, the system booted me out, but I'm back in. So I'll make this quick, just in the event it happens again.
Sure.
Thank you for your time and with us being on the broadcast today. Thank you to the listening public for all of their feedback, questions, and comments, all of it. We're all Caymanians. We need to live in an inclusive society, draw on each other's strength. So I invite people to sign up via the website. I invite people to sign up via constituency offices to build this movement from the grassroots up as we continue to advance through the campaign season and into government and beyond. So thank you very much for all of your time, and God bless you all. God bless the Cayman Islands.
All right. Final comments from anyone else? Please feel free to jump right in. Kathy, Sabrina?
Yeah, let the ladies go.
Well, thank you. Again, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to come on this morning and share a bit about the new party. And I know we've taken some time to just go through broadly some of the issues that we plan to focus on and offer solutions to. And I just want to say, particularly speaking to the constituents of West Bay Central, I keep hearing a resounding, what are the solutions? And just want to encourage you to continue to follow us as we build the party and engage with the community to work on, building the solutions on the way forward. I think that's one of the things that has been shared today, is that we have a lot of benefit with having members that have served. So we have seen what works, what doesn't work, and now we're going to loop in grassroots approach to find a holistic solution.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes, thank you so much for having us today, and definitely for giving us this platform in actually being able to highlight and to get to share where we are, who we are. And it's all the feedback that I've gotten since, we have launched yesterday. People, the word that keeps coming up is hope. We have a new sense of hope. It's like it's a new day, it's a new dawn. And, the people of Prospect don't need to have any fear. I am defending the seat for Prospect. I am elated to now be working with a group of people who definitely align with our vision, share the same goals, definitely putting Caymanians first, working from the bottom as we come up. And collectively, we are going to be that change, that hope that people is yearning for. There's no longer that feeling of despair. Now, is it a magic wand that we will get everything done? As we say, we wish life was that way, but you know that you have a foundation of individuals who definitely have Caymanians at heart or jurisdiction, and that means all 3 of our beautiful Cayman Islands. And we are definitely gonna put everything in so that we're all inclusive, all one, and reach at the same pace, time, and not feel like one is better than the other. But Prospect can rest assured, we're all in this together. We will be a family, and we will deliver for this country and our people. Thank you for having us. And we're excited and gearing up for the campaign, definitely.
Absolutely.
And then I'm gonna let Mr. Panton have the last word. So
That's unusual for you.
I'm gonna jump in here and do my thing. So I just want to say, the Caymanian community can rest assured that this group will be focused on Caymanians and the people that want to be a part of us. That's why it's not the Cayman Community Party, Caymanian. It's very important. There was a question earlier about the elderly folk and the older people and taking care of them. I also want to let that caller know to rest assured. As minister, I spearheaded the older persons policy. Mr. Andre became minister of that same portfolio later on under a slightly different name, but he has worked closely in that area with Ms. Heather Borden. Ms. Heather Borden is not with us today, but anyone who knows Heather will know her passion for her community and the elderly, from the cradle to the grave. But Heather is very, very, very involved with keeping her community of Savannah and the broader community of Bordentown actually involved with the older people, making them, looking for them, having events for them, making them feel important, happy, and treasured. Our senior citizens are one of our greatest resources. They came through, they built these islands, they came through tough times, and they know, and they are able to share a lot. This has been a passion of mine to see them one day being integrated with our youth, with our schools, sharing, imparting that knowledge in various districts, communities. I want to see an adult daycare center. We don't have any in Cayman, where you can not just put older people to live, but put older people like you do with a preschool. You drop them off in the day, you pick them up in the evening. There are some people that can't afford a helper for the older person at home. That older person goes into a daycare center. They're taken to their medical appointments, to shopping. They have that unity and fellowship with each other. And there you could take the school kids for them to learn from them. Bringing back that type of community spirit would put us in good stead in these islands. So I want to see a country is known by how it takes care of its youth and its elderly. You'll always hear that, and it's a fact.
Absolutely.
You have to prepare the youth for tomorrow, and you have to learn from the elderly of yesterday.
Yes.
If we can do that, we will be well on our way to a better Cayman Islands. So I just want to say that this group, I've seen in this small group, all of the ingredients that it takes to become a successful party and a successful leadership team. The people of these islands can put faith, can repose their faith in this group, because everyone is here not for themselves, but for the Cayman Islands and to make it a better place. I've not worked closely with Andre, although I know him pretty well. I've not worked closely with Calf, and I've not worked closely with M. But Mr. Panton and Miss Heather, I've worked very closely with. And Miss Sabrina Turner, I've had the honor to serve 3.5 years. Well, almost 3.5 years before things happened. Under her as chairman of the HSA when she was minister. Hard-working, dedicated, committed minister to the task at hand, whether it was home affairs or health or whatever it was that she had on her plate. This woman is energized. She knows her role as a minister. She doesn't play her hand. She works hard. She's committed to the people. She gets to her various events wherever they are. So I just want people to know this is not easy. This is not an easy job, and it's not easy to get elected. If it was easy, anyone could do it. We have to respect people that put themselves up for office. There are different levels of ability. There are different levels of ability in terms of knowledge, in terms of speech, in terms of just about everything. We all bring different things to the table. We're not alike. We are independent thinkers. But when we come together and we sit at a table and we trash it out and we disagree and we form a consensus, we move forward as a united force. And that is what the Caymanian Community Party is about, building strong communities and building a better Cayman.
Well said. Well said.
All right. Okay, Mr. Panton, final words from you, honey child.
Well, in the interest of time, let me just say that I associate myself with all of the comments made by my colleagues, who I am very proud to be working with, to have as colleagues. And thank you, Ozzy, for the ringing endorsement and the positive comments you made in respect of Miss Heather as well, who wasn't able to join us today. Obviously, we had an event that went on well into the evening last night, so she was very tired, and it was very well attended. So I just want to say we are here to serve our Caymanian people, to make their lives better, to make the future for our children better, and to help develop and contribute to a wonderful Cayman Islands now and into the future. I really don't want to say any more than that, because everybody has said so much positive things, and that's as I said, I endorse and I associate myself with all of those comments. Just to say, God bless our wonderful Cayman Islands. God bless everyone who has been listening today. And again, please go to our website, vote tccp.ky, and sign up and help us build a better Cayman Islands.
And one last thing, Sandra, I just want to give a shout out to you for producing a balanced show this morning.
Yes.
You let the range of comments come in. You let, whether it was thorny or tricky issues or questions come in, very balanced show. Thank you for moderating in that fashion, because we have to do this inclusively together. All of us have seen what's transpired in the last 4 years. Now just say enough is enough. And we're going to get serious and nail these issues down for future generations. Thank you. God bless.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Again, folks, here is the contact details for all of the members that you saw today. More coming. A few of you were asking about Red Bay, and I'm happy to advise you that I've been told that something is happening in Red Bay. So stay tuned. I know a lot of you are anxious, and I'm hoping that we can hear about additional districts and stuff as well. So folks, listen. We are here for you. I've already made the point that CMR is your election headquarters. We will have all of the election news and updates, and we hope to hear from as many candidates as possible, because the only way that they can hope to, inform you of what it is that they're doing, quite honestly, is to, educate you, make sure that they're in front of the people so that you can put the tough questions to them. And nobody should be coming here on this platform and not expect to be asked tough questions. That's just not how it works around here. So I appreciate all of the members of this particular party coming out, because the ones that were here this morning. Unfortunately, Miss Heather was not able to make it, but we know how much work she does at the community level, and she obviously has to take some rest, but we know that for sure next time we'll have her on here. Nobody said this is easy, but they have applied for the job of being your representative, and they have gone also to the extent of applying for the job of running the country. They're saying that that is their goal, to run this country and put together enough people to be able to do so as a cohesive party. We'll get dates together of when we will hear back from them. I encourage all candidates to get in front of people as much as you possibly can between now and April the 30th. It really is, I put the charge out there to you as voters to do your job. And your job is to ask the questions, to pay attention, perhaps to do some research on your own. Here at CMR, I will do my job, which is to facilitate the conversations. Also asking questions, because there are times that sometimes you guys might say something I'm like, maybe we need to do a little bit more digging, a little bit more research, and I'll be there to kind of fact check and do the best job that I possibly can. We'll have moderators coming in as we get to nomination day, and definitely on election day as well. Last time we had a full 7.5-hour show for nomination day, touching in with all the different, constituencies around the island. We'll be doing that again this time. Honey child, I'll need lots of tea brewing that day, and I'll have to rest up my voice, but we're going to do it. I'm committed to having an informative election cycle, and I really look forward to hearing more from the candidates individually, as well as a group, as a party, as an organization. So the Money Man was asking if CMR has a WhatsApp group. Says Sandra, does Cayman Mall Road have a group chat on WhatsApp? We do not. So we have a group channel, which is different from a chat. So a channel is really one directional in a way, in the sense that we send out all the news alerts from CMR, which will include election news and other stuff. And the only thing that's sort of interactive is we can do interactive polls. And we do polls. So the other day we did a poll about beach vendors. Over 95% of you said that you are in agreement with removing beach vendors from our public beaches. So we'll do the occasional polls. And we're trying to do more of those because it's quite interesting, really. But yeah, there's no chatting. I feel that in these group chats, a lot of time is wasted. A lot of people are bickering back and forth. I got to be honest with you, I ain't got the time for it. I'm in very few groups for that specific reason. I'm very, very laser focused on let's just get some stuff done, and sometimes enough talking. So no group chat for us, but you can always reach me. I think most people have my WhatsApp contact number. You can certainly reach me if you wish. And I also want to clarify another comment from you, the Money Man. So you said it's UDP versus NDP versus, no. There is no UDP government. The UDP government went defunct many, many years ago. They tried to rebrand as CDP or something. That never really worked. So there's not that. So we know that obviously the Progressives has their party registered, and now this party has come out. Anybody else who has a party and needs to make their announcements, well, they haven't yet done so. So we'll just go with, who's here. Yep. And there's something to be said for coming out and hitting the ground running and doing what you got to do. It's called getting to work. Thank you, Miss Charlene, and thank you, everybody else. Do tune in. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll have a Friday program for you. Do tune in. I've got a pretty busy day tomorrow because tomorrow is the Chamber Economic Forum, which I will be attending at least some of that because I'm very, very interested to see what international and regional guests have to say about the economy, not just of Cayman, but the entire world, because we don't live in seclusion. We don't live in a bubble. Things that are happening globally and regionally do have a direct impact on us as well. So I will be at that forum getting some information that I can bring back to you and educate all of you on what's happening. They have a good lineup of guests. They've sent me the itinerary. And so that's going to be very, very exciting. And of course, now I found out that my favorite person from Cayman Brac is coming. So I definitely have to see her. I might have to make her some brownies, honey child. Make sure she can take those back to Cayman Brac with her. All right, folks, that's all we got for you after 11 o'clock. And guess what? I got a lunch date today. I'm not going to tell y'all with who. I'll tell you tomorrow. Somebody very, very special government organization has invited me to lunch. And so I've just been told that one of my favorite things, marinated conch, they make sure, because they know I love it, is actually going to be on the menu just for me as their special guest today. So I feel so privileged. And thank you to that organization. Folks, do have a blessed day. Please be safe on the roadways. As always, no drinking and driving. Pay attention. Try to stay off of the phones. If you have to be on the phone while you're driving, definitely use hands-free and just, take your time and be as cautious as you can be. We want to try to reduce the number of road incidents that we're having, which now is unfortunately a daily occurrence. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Be safe until then.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.